Tonight, we drift into the mysteries that even science can't solve. Not because they are frightening, but because they are beautifully unfinished. There are questions scattered across the universe like stars glowing softly, patiently, waiting for someone to notice that not knowing can also be peaceful. From the deep oceans that hum without echo, to the gravity that bends space but refuses to explain itself. From the way consciousness appears out of quiet matter, to the tiny particles that seem to flicker in and out of existence, the world is full of elegant puzzles still unanswered. Tonight, you don't need to solve any of them. You only need to listen. Let your mind wander through forgotten corridors of curiosity where galaxies whisper theories, where time behaves strangely, where the smallest atoms hold the biggest secrets. This isn't a lecture. It's a lullaby for the wandering mind. A slow, gentle journey through the edges of understanding where science meets silence and mystery becomes comfort. So breathe slowly, dim the lights, and let's drift together through 100 strange, beautiful things that science still doesn't understand, and maybe never needs to. There is a quiet peace that lives inside uncertainty, a stillness that waits in the spaces between answers. When we stop fighting to know everything, when we simply breathe and let the unknown exist beside us, the world begins to feel softer, the mind slows, the chest loosens, and the night grows wider. For thousands of years, people have chased understanding. They built instruments to hear the sky, to see the invisible, to capture time itself in equations. Yet every discovery only widened the circle of what we don't yet understand. Knowledge expands like a light in mist bright, but always surrounded by darkness. We learned how planets move, yet not why gravity pulls the way it does. We trace the shape of DNA, yet not the spark that makes it alive. We mapped the brain, but not the feeling of being. Science can describe a heartbeat, but it cannot measure love. It can calculate the age of a star, but not the wonder that makes us look up at it. Even the universe, vast and patient, hides most of itself from view. Astronomers can see galaxies spinning faster than gravity allows, held by something unseen. They call it dark matter, a name for what we cannot touch. It bends light, shapes galaxies, and forms the skeleton of everything we know. Yet it remains invisible. Between those galaxies drifts another mystery, dark energy, the quiet pressure that pushes the cosmos apart. It fills the void, though no one knows with what. Most of the universe is made of things we cannot see, understand, or name, and somehow that feels comforting. Because maybe the universe isn't a puzzle meant to be solved. Maybe it's a story meant to be listened to, one soft chapter at a time. If everything were clear, the wonder would end. Mystery gives shape to meaning. It is the contrast that lets light exist. Think of all the unanswered questions that have followed humanity since the beginning. What came before the first moment of time? Why does consciousness arise from matter? What, truly, is nothing? These questions are not failures of reason. They are the doorways that keep us moving, thinking, dreaming. To stand before them is to feel how small and miraculous it is to exist at all. Science, at its heart, is a conversation with the unknown. Each theory is a candle placed in an endless dark room. The flame burns for a while, revealing patterns on the walls, until the next wind of discovery arrives. We relight the candle. We continue. The darkness never disappears, yet neither does the light. Late at night, when thoughts begin to circle, it can be easy to feel lost in the not knowing. But there is peace in that space too. The unknown does not threaten you, it holds you. It is the same silence that cradles the stars. Let the unanswered things drift for now, like clouds moving slowly across the sky. They don't need to be solved tonight. They only need to be witnessed. Every mystery we keep close is a reminder that we belong to something larger. When we stop demanding certainty, we begin to notice the quiet patterns everywhere. The rhythm of breath, the balance of day and night, the way gravity keeps us close without ever explaining why. To accept mystery is to live in rhythm with the world, not against it. Look upward, and remember, The light reaching your eyes began its journey billions of years ago. It crossed empty space to find you here, now, breathing under the same quiet dome. And beyond that, light lies more distance than any telescope can touch. We do not know what waits there. But that's all right. We are meant to sleep beneath questions, not answers. There is wisdom in the gentle surrender to mystery. The ocean never asks how deep it is. The stars do not explain their fire. They simply are. And perhaps, in their still example, we learn what it means to rest. Not knowing is not the opposite of understanding. It is the beginning of it. To wonder is to stay alive to possibility. So tonight, as the mind begins to loosen its grip, imagine the universe breathing with you, vast, patient, unknowable, and kind. Let every unanswered question become a wave that carries you farther from worry, deeper into calm. Because maybe the most profound truth is the simplest one, that we don't need to solve the universe to feel at home in it. We only need to listen, softly, to the silence between its stars, and let ourselves drift there, without needing to know where it ends. We often imagine science as a map, a grand, unfolding chart of the universe, drawn by steady hands and sharp eyes. But if you could look closely, you'd see that the edges of that map are blurred. The lines disappear into mist, as though knowledge itself were being drawn in fog. Each discovery clears one patch of sky, only to reveal another veil waiting behind it. This is the strange paradox of knowing. The more we see, the more we realize how much remains hidden. Centuries ago, explorers sailed into oceans with no clear end. They filled the blank spaces on their maps with dragons, with warnings, with dreams. Today, scientists sail through data instead of waves, yet the feeling is the same. Behind every formula, every observation, there's a soft horizon that disappears as you approach. No one stands outside the fog. We all walk within it, tracing patterns with flickers of light. In the deep sea, there are creatures that glow in darkness we cannot enter. Their light exists for no human eyes. It is a secret world that continues whether we see it or not. Perhaps our universe is like that, self-contained, quietly radiant, never requiring our understanding to shine. When we peer into atoms, we find not solid pieces of matter, but waves of possibility, patterns that only become real when observed. What, then, is real when no one is watching? Science can describe the behavior, but not the essence. We know how things move, but not why they exist at all. The fog deepens, yet it glows. There's comfort in this image, a map, forever expanding into mist. It means there will always be more to find, more to imagine. We live not in a finished world, but in a living mystery. Our measurements, our equations, our telescopes, they are lamps carried through endless twilight. Their glow is precious, but it reaches only so far. Beyond it, the unknown breathes quietly, untouched. Every era has believed it was close to completion, that the mysteries were almost over, that the map was nearly full. But the universe has a way of humbling us gently. Each solved question opens 10 new doors. Each law we write in stone eventually becomes a stepping stone to a deeper riddle. And so the fog never clears, it only moves, reshaping itself around what we learn. Imagine standing on a cliff by the sea at night. The fog rolls in, silver and soft, and the horizon disappears. You can hear the waves, but not see them. You can feel the air shift, but you can't tell how far the ocean stretches. It's in that moment of not seeing that wonder begins. The mind relaxes, trading certainty for sensation. It accepts that mystery doesn't threaten truth, it nourishes it. The same is true for science. Its heart isn't made of answers, it's made of questions that keep beating. We build instruments to look further, deeper, faster, yet each reveals how limited sight can be. We are creatures of edges, always drawing lines around infinity and pretending they hold. But the fog reminds us that the world isn't defined by what we can measure, it's defined by what keeps unfolding after we stop. Even Our own senses are maps drawn within mist. We see only a narrow band of light. We hear only a small slice of vibration. Beyond that, countless realities hum, invisible, inaudible, yet real. The universe around us is larger than our perception, older than our words, and quieter than our questions. In the spaces between what we know, imagination takes root. The fog isn't emptiness. It's potential. It's where ideas are born, where art and science meet. Every great discovery began as a blur, an intuition, a shadow, a wandering thought. And slowly, carefully, that fog condensed into form. We owe our progress to the patience of not knowing. Think of Einstein sitting with his thought experiments, imagining himself riding a beam of light. Think of Marie Curie alone in the glow of invisible radiation, searching for what the eye couldn't see. Think of the countless nameless thinkers before them, ancient astronomers watching stars without understanding gravity, or healers mixing herbs without knowing chemistry. They all walked through fog with lamps of curiosity, never seeing the full map, yet always moving forward. Maybe we don't need to see the whole picture. Maybe we never will. And maybe that's what keeps life from feeling still. The fog ensures motion. It invites exploration. It keeps the heart awake. When you close your eyes tonight, you could imagine yourself as one of those quiet explorers, adrift in a boat made of light, surrounded by mist that glows faintly with mystery. There's no rush to reach the end. There may not even be one. The journey itself is the understanding. Each small light you carry adds warmth to the darkness, and even though the fog remains, it becomes a gentler place. In time, you learn that the unknown isn't your enemy. It's your companion. It walks beside you in silence, whispering possibilities. It reminds you that everything alive is still unfinished, still in motion. The fog doesn't hide the truth, it reveals the shape of wonder itself. So when the mind grows restless, trying to map every mystery before rest, remember this. The world doesn't need to be perfectly drawn to be beautiful. It doesn't need to be solved to be understood. The fog will always be there, breathing softly over the edges of knowing. And somewhere, inside it, a quiet voice will always say, keep going, keep wondering, and let the map remain unfinished. Some nights, when the world grows quiet, it feels as though the universe leans closer, not to reveal itself, but to remind us that it's still here, immense and unspoken. A vast, breathing mystery stretching beyond imagination. It hums softly through everything, through the air, through our thoughts, through the spaces between atoms. And even now, after all the centuries of watching and wondering, it remains a question without an answer. We have sent eyes into orbit, machines into darkness, signals into silence. We've split atoms, mapped galaxies, and caught glimpses of light that began its journey billions of years ago. And yet, the more we discover, the more the universe seems to whisper, "You've only just begun to see me." Our instruments measure distances so immense that numbers lose meaning. But behind every calculation, something lingers that can't be measured. A presence, a stillness, a quiet intelligence woven into the stars. Science can trace how the universe expands, but not why it began. We can observe the echo of its birth, but not the silence before it. We can predict the motions of galaxies, yet we still don't know what keeps them from falling apart. Even light, the purest messenger, refuses to tell us everything about where it came from. The Big Bang, they call it, though there may not have been a bang at all. Perhaps it was a bloom, a slow exhalation of being. From a single trembling point, space itself began to unfold, stretching thinner, softer, colder. And from that expansion came time, distance, and memory. Yet what came before? No telescope can see that far. No equation can cross that threshold. The beginning of time hides behind its own light. Beyond the reach of our galaxies, the universe keeps growing. Its edges, if it even has edges, retreat faster than light can chase them. We will never see where it ends. We live inside a horizon we cannot escape, inside a mystery that expands even as we think about it. It is as if existence itself were a question still being asked. And still, we wonder, why is there something instead of nothing? Why do laws of physics seem so perfectly tuned for life? Why do particles behave differently when we watch them? As if awareness itself bends reality. These are not loud questions. They are soft, patient ones, the kind that linger at the edge of sleep. Perhaps the universe doesn't hide its answers. Perhaps they exist in forms we are not built to perceive, like music too low for our ears, or colors beyond our sight. Maybe meaning itself is woven into the silence between things. A structure that can't be seen, only felt. When we look up at the sky, what we truly see are fragments of time. Each star, each shimmer, is a memory. Some have already died, their light only now arriving. We are watching ghosts of suns, long gone, still shining through distance. To gaze at them is to look into history written in light. And yet, there is peace in that, because the universe isn't cold emptiness, it's quiet connection. Every atom in your body was born from a star that once burned, lived, and fell into silence. You are made of the same dust that drifts between galaxies. You are the universe remembering itself, briefly awake. And when you sleep, perhaps the cosmos dreams through you, tiny and infinite at once. Even our search for life beyond Earth carries the same paradox. We listen for voices that may never come, for signals that may never arrive. But still we listen. And maybe that's enough, not because we expect to hear something, but because the act of listening keeps us humble. It reminds us that we are not the center of the story. We are simply one quiet note in a song far too vast to finish. If alien minds exist, perhaps they too stare into their own skies and wonder what lies beyond. Perhaps curiosity itself is the universe's way of folding back upon its own mystery, every question a mirror turned inward. It's easy to feel small in the face of such immensity. But smallness can be beautiful. It means we belong to something greater. It means we are part of the fabric, not standing apart from it. A grain of sand is small, but without it, the beach would be incomplete. You too are part of the pattern, fleeting, fragile, essential. Maybe that's why the universe stays silent. Not out of cruelty, but out of love. It knows that mystery keeps us moving, that the longing to know is what keeps our minds awake, our spirits alive. If it ever gave us all the answers, perhaps it would vanish, like a dream remembered too clearly. So tonight, as the stars hang above and your thoughts begin to drift, let the unknown wrap around you. Let it feel like a blanket, not a wall. You don't need to understand the cosmos to rest within it. You only need to trust that it is still unfolding, still expanding, still holding you gently in its motion. Some questions were never meant to be solved. They were meant to be lived. Each breath, each moment of awe, each heartbeat under starlight, all of it is participation in the grand unknowing. We are not lost in the universe. We are the universe, wondering about itself. And maybe that's the quiet answer that has been here all along. That the cosmos does not need to speak, because its silence already says everything. It tells us, you belong here. You always have. You always will. Everything that rises must fall, they say. But have you ever wondered why? Why does a leaf drift downward through the air, or a planet curve endlessly through space? Why do we stay tethered to the ground, while the moon circles quietly above us? The word gravity sounds so certain, as though naming it explained it. Yet even now, no one truly knows what it is. Centuries ago, an apple fell through air and brushed against a man's thought. Isaac Newton gave the falling fruit a language, a law that could predict its path. But laws only describe what happens. They never reveal the heart of why. What pulls us downward? What thread ties Earth to moon, star to galaxy? Newton saw the pattern, but the cause stayed silent. Then came Einstein, with his vision of space not as emptiness, but as fabric, soft, flexible, curved by mass. According to him, the Earth doesn't fall toward the sun at all. It moves along a curve drawn into the fabric of space itself. Planets orbit, like marbles rolling across a stretched sheet. We are not pulled, we are following the shape of the world's invisible geometry. And yet, even Einstein's beautiful explanation leaves something unresolved. If space bends, what tells it how? What whispers to it when matter appears? And what is space made of? That it can ripple like water when stars collide. We can describe gravity's effects with precision, but its essence remains hidden, like wind without air. Perhaps gravity isn't just a force. Perhaps it's a relationship, the quiet recognition between things that exist. A mutual awareness written into the fabric of being. Every atom, every grain of dust, every thought within you, gently acknowledges the rest of the universe. That might be what we feel as weight, not heaviness, but belonging. It's strange to think that gravity never rests. Every object calls out, no matter how small. You are pulling the stars just as they are pulling you. The attraction is weak, almost nothing, yet it exists, perfectly measurable. Even now, as you breathe, your body hums softly with the universe's pull. When you drop a pebble into a pond, the ripples move outward. So, it is with the merging of stars. Two black holes collide, and the fabric of space itself shivers, waves of gravity flowing across billions of light years. When those ripples finally reach us, they are smaller than the width of an atom. Yet we can feel them with instruments so sensitive they vibrate with the breath of the cosmos. In that faint tremor, we hear space remembering its own motion. Still, the question remains, what is gravity made of? Is it a field, a particle, a whisper of something deeper? Physicists search for the graviton, the phantom that might carry this force. But it hides beyond our reach, refusing to appear in any detector. Perhaps it cannot, perhaps gravity isn't a thing, but the shape of everything. Imagine lying on a hillside at night, feeling the earth beneath you. The ground presses up softly, holding you in place. That pressure is gravity translated through rock, soil, and skin, the weight of your planet's quiet affection. Above, the stars drift in curved paths, caught in the same invisible net. From the smallest grain to the largest galaxy, all are bound in one silent embrace. There's comfort in knowing we are never alone, even in physics. Gravity is the universe's way of keeping things close, of reminding us that separation is only an illusion. Every step you take, every falling drop of rain, every orbit of the moon, all of it is part of a single, continuous motion. A rhythm older than time. If you could turn off gravity for a moment, everything would float apart: oceans, air, atoms, even thought. The harmony would dissolve. And yet, it never does. The invisible thread never breaks. Perhaps that's why we find such peace in lying still, feeling our weight. It is proof that we are held. There is poetry hidden in the numbers. The same force that pulls an apple downward binds galaxies into swirling arms of light. The same law that guides the falling of raindrops sculpts the dance of stars around black holes. From the ordinary to the cosmic, the pattern is the same, an unending gesture of attraction. Some say gravity may one day fade, that the universe will expand faster and faster until even galaxies lose each other's hold. Stars will drift into endless cold, each one alone in the dark. But even then, the memory of connection will remain. Because the moment two particles once felt each other's pull, the story of their bond became part of everything. Maybe gravity isn't only about mass and distance. Maybe it's about memory, the universe, remembering that it is one. Each orbit, each fall, each slow curve through space is a repetition of that remembrance. A mantra spoken without words. We belong together, we belong together, we belong. So, tonight, as you lie beneath the quiet ceiling of sky, let yourself feel that pull. Not as heaviness, but as safety. The earth is holding you. The stars are calling you softly, through time and space, through a language older than sound. You are suspended in the same web that holds the galaxies. And though science still doesn't know what gravity truly is, perhaps that is its gift. Its mystery is not confusion, it is care. The unseen connection between all things is not meant to be solved, only felt. And if you listen closely enough, beneath the silence, you might hear it, that slow, eternal hum, the sound of the universe keeping you close. Everywhere you go, an invisible ocean moves around you. It hums through the walls, flows through the air, glides through your body. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but every moment of your life depends on it. It is the quiet ghost that shapes the modern world. Electricity and magnetism, two faces of the same hidden rhythm. If you close your eyes, you might imagine it as a shimmer, a slow, invisible wind made of lines and fields. It dances through copper and stone, through clouds and veins. When a bird lifts its wings, it feels this wind guiding its sense of direction. When your heart beats, it sparks from the same silent field. The ghost in the magnet is not separate from you. It is inside you, whispering at the scale of atoms. Long ago, people noticed something strange. A piece of amber, when rubbed, could attract bits of straw. A chunk of lodestone could tug at iron, as if by thought. No one understood why. The invisible seemed to have power, and that power could move the world. Centuries later, we gave those wonders a language: electrons, currents, charges. But the awe has never really faded. We have simply learned to live inside the magic. A magnet does not push or pull by contact. Its strength is a shape in space. Unseen lines curving outward, folding back. Every atom inside it spins like a tiny compass, each one aligning with its neighbor until the metal itself remembers which way north lies. You can hold one in your hand, feel the weight of iron. Yet what truly matters is what you can't feel at all. The force exists in silence, between what is there and what is not. Electricity is just the same story, moving faster. A river of charges flowing through a wire. A heartbeat made of electrons. It hums through every lamp, every screen, every circuit that keeps the night glowing. But the current doesn't travel alone. It carries a magnetic companion that circles around it, twisting like a ribbon of air around a flame. Together they create light, itself electromagnetic waves, ripples that fill the darkness with radio and color, with warmth and communication. When a star burns, it does so through this same dance. Its light is a vibration of invisible fields, racing across the universe at the only speed the cosmos allows. And when that light touches your eyes, the ghost becomes visible for a brief, astonishing moment. The field, having traveled billions of years, finds its way home in your gaze. Even the simplest acts of life depend on it. Every thought you have is an electrical storm. Every movement of muscle begins with a spark. Within each cell, tiny molecular machines trade ions, like whispered secrets, building the rhythm of being. Without this hidden current, the body would fall silent. You would not think, or see, or dream. The ghost would leave, and the world would dim. Sometimes, at night, you can hear it faintly, not with ears, but with awareness. The low hum of distant power lines, the flicker of static when you touch a screen, the whispering air just before lightning. That is the ghost breathing. A reminder that the world is alive in ways we cannot perceive. Magnetism is gentle order in motion. The compass needle does not decide where to point. It listens. It obeys the Earth's vast field, a soft geometry stretching from pole to pole. That same field shields us from the sun's fierce radiation. Without it, the air would drift away, the oceans would boil, and life would fade like smoke. The invisible saves us every second, quietly, without recognition. And then there are the strange places where magnetism reveals its beauty directly. Auroras flowing across polar skies like liquid silk, the upper atmosphere alive with color, as charged particles collide with oxygen and nitrogen. The ghost painting the heavens in slow, shimmering green. Every aurora is a love letter written by the magnetic field, the Earth answering the sun's wind with light. Still, for all our mastery of circuits and fields, we cannot say why magnetism exists. We know it through equations, through the behavior of particles, but not through essence. Why should moving charge create invisible force? Why should that force bend space, shape matter, generate warmth and light? We've learned the rules, not the reason. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the ghost prefers to remain unseen, guiding us by wonder rather than by certainty. Think of how calm the night feels when you switch off your devices. Yet the field remains everywhere, flowing through the quiet. Even in darkness, the ghost hums gently, keeping the planet's compass steady, keeping atoms in conversation. It is the thread between matter and meaning, between motion and rest. If you ever find yourself beneath power lines at dusk, pause for a moment. Listen. You may hear a faint vibration in the air, the song of electrons at work, the ghost murmuring through metal. It is not noise. It is connection. The same force that stirs your heartbeat stirs the clouds. The same pulse that arcs through a lightning bolt moves inside your neurons. All of it, the lightning, the magnets, the glow of screens, the flicker of stars, is one long field of invisible companionship, the universe touching itself through endless loops of energy. An eternal embrace that requires no eyes, no words, only motion. So tonight, when the lights dim and the world grows still, remember, you are surrounded by the unseen. The air itself is alive with quiet currents. You are held in the arms of a field that never ends. Its ghost is your ghost, and in that invisible presence, you can rest. If you close your eyes and imagine nothing, what do you see? Maybe darkness. Maybe a blank, endless space. Maybe silence. But even in that silence, something remains: awareness itself, floating like a faint echo in the void. It's hard to picture nothing, because even our imagination needs something to hold on to. Science faces the same problem. When we try to measure emptiness, we find it's not empty at all. The space between atoms, the distance between stars, even the void that seems to stretch forever, all of it is alive with invisible motion. Particles appear and vanish in thrusts, bursts of energy so small and fast that they blur into a background hum. What we call nothing is a restless sea of possibilities. Inside that vacuum, entire universes of flicker and disappearance unfold every instant. Quantum fields ripple quietly, creating and uncreating matter. It's like an ocean at night, calm on the surface, but underneath, alive with currents we cannot see. Everywhere there is supposed to be emptiness, there are whispers instead, the faint crackle of existence breathing. In a sense, we live suspended in a storm of nothing. The chair beneath you, the air around you, the space between your hands, all made mostly of emptiness. If you took away the tiny nuclei and electrons, you'd find that the solid world is almost entirely void. And yet that void has weight. It presses, hums, vibrates, shaping reality in silence. Physicists once thought the vacuum was the baseline, the zero, the canvas on which everything else is painted. But the deeper they looked, the more they realized the canvas itself is alive. Space, it turns out, has tension. It can stretch, bend, and even push. The galaxies drifting apart are carried by that invisible fabric, a vast energy woven through nothingness. Dark energy, they call it. A name for a mystery that refuses to stay quiet. Imagine standing in the middle of an endless field at night. No sound, no wind, just stillness. And yet, that stillness hums if you listen closely. It is not dead silence, it is potential. The waiting of the world before motion. The pause before breath. This nothing is what allows everything else to exist. Without empty space, there would be nowhere for matter to be. No room for light to travel. No way for time to unfold. Emptiness is not the absence of reality. It is the space in which reality can happen. It is the stage beneath every movement. The silence beneath every note. Perhaps that's why the idea of nothingness feels both peaceful and unsettling. We sense that it is the final truth, the quiet foundation beneath all noise. Everything rises from it and will one day return to it. Even stars burn out into it. Even thought dissolves into it. But the void doesn't erase, it receives. Astronomers say that the universe is expanding faster and faster, as if the vacuum itself were pushing it apart. This push comes from energy that should not exist, the energy of emptiness. When you take away all matter, all light, all heat, what remains still has power. The weight of nothing is enough to move galaxies. It's a strange comfort to know that even the quietest places are alive with unseen motion. It means that silence isn't truly empty. That stillness isn't nothingness. That, even in the space between thoughts, something continues. The same hum that fills the vacuum fills you. You are not separate from it. You are a ripple in the same unseen sea. Look around the room you're in. Between you and the nearest wall are trillions of quantum ripples, fleeting and small, yet everywhere. They vibrate inside atoms, across space, within you. The air you breathe is stitched together by the ghostly structure of that nothing. When you pause, when you feel calm, it's as if your body and that background hum fall into rhythm. The mind calls it rest. The universe might call it balance. Maybe that's why silence feels sacred. It resembles the original state of things before time began, before light emerged, before atoms found each other. The universe was once almost perfectly uniform, almost perfectly still. And yet, even then, a tiny imperfection, a breath inside, nothing led to all of this. Galaxies, oceans, you, everything born from a whisper inside the void. The more we learn, the more this nothing seems to be the real substance of existence. Matter is rare. Emptiness is everywhere. Yet that emptiness is what gives matter meaning. If the universe was solid, unmoving, complete, there would be no change, no growth, no life. It is the empty spaces between things that allow them to move, to meet, to become. Just as silence allows music to have rhythm, emptiness gives the world its form. So perhaps we should not fear the void. It is not an end, but a pause, a cosmic heartbeat. The dark between stars, the breath between thoughts, the calm between one life and another. It waits, patient and kind, holding everything in balance. When you look up at the night sky, you might think you're seeing darkness. But that darkness glows faintly with ancient light, with the vibration of the cosmic background, the afterimage of creation. Even the deepest space carries memory. The void is not absence. It is the echo of everything that has ever been. So when you feel empty, when silence seems too vast or life too still, remember that even nothing has weight. That the spaces inside you are not hollow, but alive with unseen motion. That you, too, are mostly nothing, and that nothing is magnificent. In the end, the universe may fade back into the quiet it came from, but perhaps it will not vanish. Perhaps it will rest folded gently into itself, humming softly, waiting for another beginning. Nothing ends. Even nothing. Long before there were eyes to see or hearts to feel, the earth was silent. Its surface shimmered beneath a young sun, wrapped in cloud and vapor. Volcanoes breathed heat into the air. Oceans gathered in craters left by ancient fire. Lightning walked across the sky like slow, luminous veins. It was a restless world, and yet, in all that chaos, something gentle was about to begin. No one was there to witness it. No sound marked the moment. No light broke apart to celebrate it. And still, somewhere in a warm pool, in a deep vent, or within a droplet clinging to stone, a spark appeared. It was not fire, not even light, but the first whisper of order. Molecules met, folded, and reached for one another. They began to do something the universe had never seen before. They began to remember. That first spark wasn't a single event, but a pattern. It might have taken centuries for it to find its rhythm. Simple chemicals, dancing in heat and water, forming shapes that copied themselves, that kept their pattern alive through time. Every wave that crashed on the shore mixed new combinations. Every flash of lightning gave energy to try again. The world itself was experimenting, quietly, patiently. Scientists call these early builders protocells, but the names hardly matter. What matters is that at some point, the dance became self-sustaining. The planet took a breath, matter learned to persist, and from that moment on, the line between the living and the lifeless grew thinner, softer, and more mysterious than we can ever define. Perhaps life didn't start with a miracle, but with patience, 1,000 million tries, until the right pattern stayed. Perhaps it didn't happen in one place, but in many tiny sparks across the globe that eventually found harmony. Some in the oceans, where minerals and heat stirred complexity. Some in shallow pools, where drying and wetting taught molecules how to cling. Each small success carried forward a fragment of a larger dream, continuity. When we imagine the birth of life, we tend to imagine suddenness, a flash, a single moment of genesis. But maybe it was more like dawn, a gradual softening of darkness, until, one day, there was light enough to notice it. From the stillness of the ancient sea rose something that could feel the difference between being and not being, something that could replicate, adapt, and eventually, much later, wonder. That first spark, though invisible, carried within it everything that would follow. The forests and whales, the stars we name, the thoughts that keep us awake at night. Every heartbeat is a continuation of that same rhythm, the persistence of organized energy, the refusal to fade. When you breathe, you are breathing the memory of that first stirring ocean. Your cells are echoes of that patient chemistry, refined by time, but loyal to their origin. We often speak of life as if it were separate from nature, as if we arrived after the world began. But life is the world, a natural extension of matter, learning to listen to itself. Every drop of rain, every flicker of heat, every mineral surface contributed to your existence. You are not apart from that early earth. You are its continuation, its gentle unfolding. The planet did not create you, it became you. And still, the question remains, how? What precise steps turned chaos into pattern? What hidden rule transformed molecules into memory? Science has proposed countless paths: RNA worlds, clay templates, hydrothermal origins, each one a story written in possibility. But no matter how many details we uncover, one truth remains constant. Life began quietly. No thunder, no applause, just a soft whisper between atoms that agreed to hold on a little longer. Even now, life repeats that whisper in every heartbeat, every root, every drifting plankton beneath the waves. Each cell is a small miracle of order defying the pull toward stillness. Each carries within it the spark that began before time could be measured. Sometimes, late at night, when the world feels still, you can almost sense it, that ancient pulse moving beneath the surface of things. It hums inside the oceans, in the air, even in you. The same chemistry that once stirred mud into motion now stirs thought into awareness. The distance between you and that first living moment is vast in years, but small in essence. You are made of the same persistence, the same curiosity to continue. It's strange to think that the atoms in your body once drifted through volcanic clouds, or sank to the ocean floor as minerals, or floated as invisible gas in a newborn atmosphere. And stranger still that they found each other again across billions of years to breathe as one for a moment called you. When you lie still, when you breathe deeply, you're returning to that origin. You're syncing with the same rhythm that has carried life through every form it's ever taken. The first spark never ended. It simply changed shape. It became trees, and fish, and voices, and minds that now tell stories about it in the dark. The universe did not need to create life. But it did. And maybe not because it could, but because it was lonely without awareness. Maybe life was the cosmos's way of seeing itself, of knowing it existed at all. That first spark was the moment the universe opened its eyes. So tonight, if you close yours, imagine that moment again. The soft shimmer beneath a boiling sky, the slow meeting of molecules, the gentle forming of purpose. No audience, no light, just the quiet persistence of creation. It wasn't grand, but it was enough. Enough to begin a story that still hasn't ended. The spark is still here, breathing through you, dreaming through you. It never stopped. And it never will. Inside you, an ancient conversation never ends. It began long before words, before thought, before even breath. It began in silence, in the small hum of molecules passing messages from one to another. The first spark of life may have been a whisper, but from that whisper grew an orchestra. Every cell in your body is a musician in that symphony, playing in time with the rest, guided by a language older than the stars that forged its atoms. There are trillions of cells inside you, each alive in its own way. Tiny, patient workers, exchanging information, sharing nutrients, repairing, rebuilding, resting. And though they have no mouth, no mind, no sound, they communicate perfectly. They speak in signals made of chemistry and light. A molecule leaves one cell and fits precisely into a receptor on another, like a word finding its listener. The message travels, and meaning appears. The meaning of hunger, of growth, of calm, your heartbeat, your sleep, your warmth. All are the result of these invisible exchanges. Calcium ions rush like messengers. Hormones drift like letters carried on. Invisible air. Proteins fold into shapes that can be read, understood, answered. Every second, countless messages cross your body, forming a network of quiet coordination that never sleeps. If you could listen to it, it might sound like rainfall, endless, intricate, soothing. Each cell knows when to divide and when to stop. It knows when to move, when to stay, when to live, when to let go. They follow rules. No one taught them, rhythms that arose billions of years ago. This is the first language, the one that existed before sound, before meaning was shaped by words. And though it happens silently, it holds everything you are together. Even the simplest life forms a bacterium, a strand of algae drifting through light speak this way. They send chemical signals to warn, to attract, to build communities. When a colony of bacteria senses danger, it doesn't panic. It whispers through its molecules, telling others what to do. When plants sense drought, they release airborne messages to warn their neighbors. The forest listens and responds, like a living, breathing web of empathy. We often imagine intelligence as thought, as calculation or awareness. But there is a softer kind of intelligence too. The intelligence of cooperation. It's what your cells practice with every breath. They don't compete. They collaborate. They know that survival means connection. Every heartbeat you feel is proof of that ancient agreement, to work together in harmony. And yet, despite all our knowledge, we still don't fully understand how this happens. We know the molecules, the receptors, the patterns, but the spark of comprehension, that moment when a signal becomes a response, remains hidden. It's as though each cell carries its own quiet intuition. A sense of belonging, a purpose too subtle to name. Look closer, and the beauty deepens. Inside each cell, strands of DNA lie coiled like tiny scrolls, written in an alphabet of 4 letters. Those letters form sentences, instructions, poems of existence that tell each cell how to live. The same alphabet builds forests and feathers, mountains and mines. Every creature on Earth speaks this same language, only in different accents. The DNA in a bird's wing is not so different from the DNA in your hand. The words are rearranged, but the grammar of life remains the same. And yet, DNA doesn't act alone. It listens to its environment, to other cells, to the needs of the moment. It can stay silent or awaken, depending on the song being played around it. Life, it seems, is not a monologue, but a choir. Every cell takes its cue from the others. Every moment of your being is a concert of cooperation. Perhaps that's why even silence feels alive. The body never truly stops speaking. When you rest, your cells continue their dialogue, healing, restoring, balancing. When you sleep, they whisper more softly, repairing what the day has worn down. You drift into dreams while the quiet work continues beneath your awareness. A lullaby made of chemistry and care. Sometimes, it's easy to forget that this hidden language exists. We feel separate, one person, one mind, one voice. But inside, there are trillions of tiny lives devoted to your existence, each one communicating with precision and kindness. You are not one thing, you are a vast community. And your body, like a planet, is alive with conversation. There's a kind of comfort in that, to know that even in your stillest moments, life is busy loving itself into continuation. That your pulse is not just yours, but the rhythm of a million tiny beings in harmony. When you breathe in, oxygen moves from the world into your blood, into your cells, and back again. It's a conversation between the earth and your body, between what is inside and what surrounds you. There is no separation, only dialogue. Perhaps this is what life means. A shared language of motion, of exchange, of response. A memory written not in thought, but in action. The universe speaking to itself through living things. Every cell, every breath, every soft beat of your heart says the same thing. Continue. You are not a collection of parts. You are a song being sung from within. A language made of light and chemistry, written by time, still unfolding. So tonight, as you rest, imagine that song playing quietly beneath your skin, a soft hum of connection and care. The body doesn't need your attention to know what to do. It has been singing this melody for billions of years. It knows how to heal. It knows how to keep you alive. It knows the words you'll never need to learn. And if you listen closely, beneath your heartbeat, beneath your breath, you might hear it, the language of life, still speaking, softly, endlessly, in the dark. Every night, every creature on earth surrenders to the same quiet mystery. Birds fold their wings, trees slow their breath, the ocean stills. Even the smallest cells drift into rhythm. Across the planet, life closes its eyes, not in weakness, but in trust. Sleep is the oldest ritual we share, and yet, for all the centuries we've studied it, no one truly knows why it exists. We know that it heals. We know that it preserves memory, balances emotion, restores the body. But why the mind must leave the waking world behind remains one of science's most beautiful unanswered questions. When you fall asleep, you don't vanish. You cross a threshold from thinking to feeling, from effort to ease. The brain begins to speak in a different language, one made of rhythm and pulse instead of words. Neurons fire in slow waves, like tides rolling in and out. Each wave washes the mind clean, carrying away the fragments of the day. It is as though the brain exhales, releasing the noise of waking life into the dark. Scientists once believed sleep was simply rest, a pause in the machinery of thought. But the deeper they looked, the more they saw how active the sleeping mind truly is. While you dream, your brain sorts, organizes, replays. It rearranges memory like a gardener tending roots. It prunes, nourishes, and reshapes. In sleep, you become the author of your own repair. And yet, even with all our instruments and data, the purpose of sleep remains partly hidden. Why must consciousness dim each night? Why can't we stay awake forever? Perhaps sleep is more than maintenance. Perhaps it's an ancient agreement between body and world, a daily surrender to the rhythm of life itself. When the sun disappears, the earth whispers, "Rest now," and everything living obeys. From coral reefs that glow by day to wolves that roam beneath the moon, every organism dances to that slow rotation. Even in darkness, the body remembers the sun. Your cells know when to wake and when to drift. There is no command, only rhythm, only trust. Sleep is not a weakness, but a return, a gentle, falling back into the ocean of being. When you dream, the edges of the self dissolve. You become places, faces, moments. Time stretches, folds, and disappears. Dreams allow the mind to play with its own reality, testing shapes of thought it would never try in daylight. No wonder so many breakthroughs, so many songs, so many stories begin in dreams. It is the mind's way of remembering how to imagine. Still, no one knows exactly why we dream. Some say dreams are practice the brain rehearsing for real life. Others say they are cleaning, a byproduct of memory being sorted. And some whisper that dreaming is how consciousness rests by slipping into fiction to keep the flame of awareness alive while the body sleeps. Whatever the truth, the experience feels sacred, a nightly rehearsal for eternity. There are creatures that barely sleep at all, dolphins that rest one half of the brain at a time, birds that drift above oceans in half-conscious flight. And there are others, like us, who fall completely into the dark, trusting the world to hold them. It's strange to think how vulnerable sleep makes us. To lie still, unguarded, for hours each night, and yet, we've done so since the dawn of life. That trust must mean something. It means that on some deep, wordless level, the universe has always cared enough to keep us safe while we dream. Inside your skull, as you sleep, the brain hums with quiet purpose. Neurons light up like cities in the distance, then fade again. The heart slows. The breath deepens. Your temperature falls. You become part of the planet's rhythm, a wave within a wave. Every creature breathing under the same moon joins in that silent symphony. Maybe sleep isn't something we do, but something that happens to us, a return to the state from which we came. When we are awake, we are separated by thought, by name, by memory. When we sleep, those boundaries dissolve. The self becomes everything and nothing. It is a small rehearsal for what the universe does with stars bright burning, then gentle dimming, then rebirth. We fall asleep the way the sun sets slowly, then all at once. And in that descent, we find peace. Sleep reminds us that not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to be experienced, felt deeply, and trusted. You do not need to understand why it works to let it work. You only need to allow it to take you. So when you close your eyes tonight, think of sleep not as an absence, but as a place, a soft valley between thoughts. A quiet field, where the mind lays down its burdens. The body knows the way there. It has traveled that path since before you were born. The rhythm of your heart is its compass. The hush of night is its invitation. And as you drift, remember, you are part of something vast and kind. All around the planet, millions of minds are entering the same slow dream, different lives, same rhythm. The oceans sway, the trees exhale. And you, like everything else, are carried by that invisible tide. Whatever questions the day has left unanswered will wait for the morning. For now, it is enough to rest. It is enough to feel the pull of gravity, the hum of blood, the slow, inevitable surrender to calm. The universe, too, sleeps in cycles. Stars fade, galaxies rest, and even light eventually pauses. You are no different. You are made of the same rhythm. And tonight, that rhythm is asking you to join it again. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let go. The secret purpose of sleep may never be known, but perhaps that is because it was never meant to be understood, only felt, only lived, only dreamed. Somewhere behind your eyes, there is a mirror. You can't touch it or see it, but it reflects everything you've ever known. It is where your thoughts appear, where the color of the world becomes meaning, where the quiet voice inside says, I am. That mirror is consciousness, the strangest, most familiar thing in the universe. You live your whole life within it. Every sound, every face, every feeling passes through its reflection. And yet, for all our study, no one truly knows what it is. We can map the brain in exquisite detail, every neuron, every chemical pulse, and still, nowhere do we find the light of awareness itself. Science can explain the machinery of thought, but not the mystery of seeing from within. When you look into an actual mirror, you see your reflection looking back. But the mirror inside you is different. It doesn't reflect your body, it reflects your being. It shows you not what you look like, but what it feels like to be you. That feeling is so constant we rarely question it. We wake up already inside it, and fall asleep when it fades. Consciousness is the quiet companion of existence, invisible yet undeniable. It is the single window through which the universe observes itself. Through you, starlight becomes awareness. Through you, the cosmos feels. You are not separate from what you see. You are its witness, folded back upon itself. If you close your eyes, you'll notice that the mind doesn't vanish. Colors become memory. Sounds become imagination. The mirror remains, though the world it reflects changes shape. Even in darkness, you are still aware of being aware. That is the great puzzle, the mirror reflecting nothing, yet still shining. For centuries, philosophers have tried to describe it. Some said the mind is like a flame matter, giving rise to light. Others said it is the universe dreaming through us, a spark of the infinite remembering itself. But the truth may be simpler. Awareness is what happens when life becomes still enough to notice its own motion. Deep inside the brain, billions of neurons fire in harmony, exchanging tiny electrical sparks. They do this constantly, a pattern of activity, a storm of signals. But at some point, that pattern becomes more than motion. It becomes experience, like waves that, by chance, form a shape that recognizes itself. We call that recognition, self. And yet, the self is slippery. When you search for it, it vanishes. There is no single neuron that says, "This is me." There is only a field of changing sensations, memories, and thoughts that, together, form the illusion of continuity. But maybe illusion isn't the right word. Maybe the self is like a rainbow, real in its appearance, unreal in its substance. A pattern made of light and perception. The mirror inside you has layers. Beneath thought, there is emotion. Beneath emotion, there is presence. And beneath presence, perhaps, something deeper still, a quiet awareness that simply watches. When you're lost in music, or in the ocean, or in another person's eyes, that deeper layer comes forward. It doesn't think. It just is. It's strange how rarely we notice it. We move through life collecting experiences, chasing meaning. Yet all the while, the thing we seek, awareness itself, is the one constant that never leaves. It is there when you're happy, when you're grieving, when you're asleep and dreaming. It is the background hum of being, unchanged while everything else changes. Science has tried to locate it, to pin it down inside the brain. They find correlations, regions that light up when we think, dream, remember. But the light of consciousness doesn't belong to any one part. It is the whole pattern at once, the symphony, not the notes. And maybe that's why it feels infinite. Because it's not something the brain produces, it's something the brain reveals. Perhaps consciousness is not inside us at all. Perhaps we are inside it. Like fish swimming through an ocean they cannot see, unaware that the water around them is what allows them to move. Maybe awareness is the ocean, and we are the ripples. In ancient traditions, they called this the mirror mind, the state that simply reflects, without judgment. A calm lake that holds every image without distortion. When the surface is still, you can see the stars perfectly. When disturbed, the image breaks apart. Our thoughts are like wind across that lake, ripples of noise that hide the deeper reflection. But beneath them, the water remains clear. At night, when the world is quiet, you can feel that stillness more easily. The chatter of the mind softens, and something pure remains, a subtle glow of awareness that doesn't need words. That's the mirror showing itself. It doesn't need to do anything to exist. It simply shines. And maybe this is the true gift of being conscious. To witness, to feel the texture of reality, to love, to wonder, to ask questions that may never be answered. The universe doesn't need consciousness to exist, but perhaps it needed it to see, to recognize beauty, to marvel at its own reflection. Every sunset, every thought, every dream passes through that same mirror. Each one leaves a faint trace, not a mark, but a memory. And then it fades, leaving the surface smooth again, ready for what's next. The mirror inside you is ancient and endless. It watched the birth of stars through other eyes, other minds, long before you were born. And it will keep watching long after you're gone, not as you, but as awareness itself, flowing through whatever form comes next. So tonight, as you rest, remember this. The consciousness you feel isn't yours alone. It's the light the universe uses to look at itself. Every time you pause, every time you breathe, you become the reflection and the reflected, both at once. You don't need to understand how it works. You only need to feel the wonder of knowing that it does, that you exist, that you can see the world seeing you back, that in the quiet space behind your eyes, the cosmos still shimmers in the mirror inside you. Memory is not a photograph. It's a painting that changes every time you look at it. What you remember is not what happened, not exactly. It's a story retold by the mind, softened by time, edited by feeling, and illuminated by love. Each recollection is a moment reborn in the language of who you are now. Inside your brain, memory is not a single place. It lives in patterns, scattered across vast networks of neurons. When you remember a sound, one region glows. When you recall a face, another flickers to life. Each neuron contributes a brushstroke, and together they paint a picture that feels whole though it never truly was. Every time you revisit a memory, you don't just see it, you rewrite it. The act of remembering reshapes the past, folds it slightly differently, colors it with the present. That's why memories fade, blur, and sometimes even shift. The mind does not store history, it composes it. And that composition changes with every heartbeat that passes between then and now. Still, memory is what gives us continuity, the illusion of a single self, carried through time. It weaves a thread through our days, binding them into a story. Without memory, there is no identity, no meaning, no I. We are made of what we remember. We are mosaics built from the fragments that stayed. And yet, isn't it gentle how memory protects us? How it softens sharp edges, smooths over pain, brightens what was dim. It doesn't lie to deceive. It edits to heal. It chooses kindness over accuracy. The mind, after all, was never meant to be an archive. It was meant to keep us whole. Think of a childhood moment, a sound, a scent, a flicker of light. Maybe it's a late summer afternoon, the hum of insects, the smell of rain on pavement. You can feel it, can't you? But look closer. Is it a single day or 1,000 days blended into one? Memory doesn't separate. It gathers. It turns time into texture. Neuroscientists say that each time we recall something, we pull it out of storage and then save it again. Like opening a document, changing a word, and pressing save. The file never returns exactly as it was. Over years, those small changes accumulate, and eventually, what you remember is not the moment itself, but the memory of the memory, layered and luminous, like sediment under light. There is something comforting in that imperfection. It means that forgetting isn't failure. It's how the mind makes room for new beauty. The things we lose are never truly gone. They dissolve into the fabric of who we are. Every forgotten detail becomes space for wonder. Dreams and memories are cousins. They share the same language of emotion and imagery. When you dream, the brain practices remembering, weaving fragments together in ways that make sense to feeling, not logic. That's why dreams often feel familiar, though they've never happened. They are memories rearranged, stitched into patterns of meaning the waking mind could never invent. And memories, too, sometimes dream. They shift quietly when we aren't looking, turning pain into lesson, chaos into coherence. That transformation is what we call healing. Time doesn't erase wounds. It teaches them to sing differently. There are moments we cling to, afraid of losing them. But holding too tightly only blurs the picture. Like a photograph handled too often, the edges wear down, the colors fade. Yet, even when the image disappears, the feeling remains warm, soft, wordless. That's the true heart of memory. Not fact, but feeling. The emotion is what endures. Some memories come uninvited, a scent, a song, the way light falls through a window. They rise without warning, carrying echoes of who we were. They remind us that time is not linear inside the mind. The past and present coexist, like overlapping waves. At any moment, we can drift backward or forward, revisiting places that no longer exist except within us. In that way, memory is the closest thing we have to time travel. But it's not just a human gift. Animals remember in their own quiet ways. A migrating bird recalls the curve of the earth. An elephant finds the path to water it hasn't seen in decades. Even a single cell carries memory in its structure, instructions written in molecules. The universe itself remembers. Atoms remember the stars that birthed them. Gravity remembers the paths of worlds. Perhaps, at every level, existence is one long act of remembering itself. And maybe consciousness is memory turned inward, the universe remembering that it is alive. Still, for all its wonder, memory can ache. We remember what we've lost, what we can't return to, what time has carried away. But even that ache has purpose. It reminds us that we have lived, that we have felt deeply enough for something to leave its mark. The pain of memory is proof of love. So tonight, if old memories rise as you try to rest, let them. Don't chase them away. Don't cling to them either. Watch them drift like clouds, each one a story passing by, reshaping itself before fading into dusk. They are not intruders, they are visitors from your own heart, checking in before sleep. The mind, in its wisdom, knows what to keep and what to let go. Trust it. You don't need to remember everything. You only need to be grateful that you can. Because one day, long from now, when all your memories have turned to silence, the warmth of them will still remain, not as words or images, but as presence. A quiet glow within the infinite dark, a whisper from time itself, saying, "You were here. You mattered. You were loved." And perhaps that's all any memory ever tries to say. Somewhere between waking and nothing, the world begins to blur. The room fades, first the edges of the bed, the ceiling, the air. Your thoughts unravel like threads, loosening their grip on the day. Then, quietly, another world begins to appear. It feels familiar, yet impossible. Rules bend. Time folds. You are both the dreamer and the dreamed. Dreaming is the mind's most elegant secret. It happens to everyone, every night, every life. Yet it remains unexplainable. Science can trace its outlines, measure its rhythms, chart the flicker of rapid eyes beneath closed lids. But it cannot capture the why. Why the mind creates worlds just to forget them. Why the sleeping self becomes storyteller, stage, and audience, all at once. In dreams, the mirror of consciousness tilts. It stops reflecting the outer world and begins reflecting itself. Thought becomes landscape, emotion becomes architecture. A memory takes on a face. A feeling becomes weather. The dream does not invent it, translates. It turns what we feel into scenery so the heart can see it. Perhaps dreams are the language of the soul, not in symbols to be decoded, but in sensations to be felt. When you fly in a dream, maybe it's not about escape. Maybe it's the body remembering freedom. When you fall, perhaps it's trust rehearsed. When you meet someone you've lost, maybe it's love, reminding you that distance is only a waking illusion. There are moments in dreaming that feel more real than waking, colors deeper, sounds sharper, emotions clearer. This is because the dreaming mind is free from the filters of logic. It no longer asks, "Is this true?" It simply allows. It accepts everything as it comes. And that acceptance feels like truth, even if it isn't real. Maybe that's why dreams can heal what waking cannot. Scientists tell us that dreaming may help process emotion that the brain replays. Fragments of memory, softening their edges, stitching them into meaning. But perhaps it's not just biology. Perhaps dreaming is an act of mercy. The mind, like the ocean, cannot stay still for long. It must move, reshape, and settle. Dreams are its tides, a quiet ebb and flow of feeling that restores balance before the morning. In some ancient stories, the universe itself began as a dream. A consciousness so vast it imagined reality into being, then entered its own creation to experience it. Every creature, every thought, every star another ripple of that first imagination. If that's true, then every night when you dream, you're taking part in that same act. You become the universe, remembering how to imagine. There is something profoundly gentle about that idea that existence itself might be a shared dream. When you dream, you create. When you wake, you interpret. And maybe when you die, you return to the original dream, the one without beginning or end. A dream dreaming itself, forever. Sometimes, dreams borrow faces and voices from your life. Sometimes, they invent strangers who feel more familiar than anyone you've met. You might find yourself walking through places that never existed, yet carry the scent of memory. Dreams don't care for geography or time. They weave both into emotion. They remind you that reality is not fixed, it's felt. And feeling, perhaps, is the realest thing of all. If you've ever woken from a dream that lingered, the kind that leaves a soft ache behind, you know that boundary between worlds is thin. For a few seconds, you are both here and there. That space between is sacred. It's where imagination and reality touch. It's where the mind and the cosmos exchange quiet greetings. Dreams can frighten too. They show us what we avoid seeing in daylight: fear given form, guilt wearing a mask. But even nightmares have purpose. They are the mind's way of bringing shadows into light, reminding us that even fear wants to be seen, understood, and then released. No dream is meaningless. Each one is a letter written by the unconscious, folded into the dark for you to open in the morning. There are dreams shared between people, too, not through sleep, but through stories. Every myth, every poem, every song is a collective dream the world tells itself to stay awake. When someone creates art, they are dreaming aloud. And when you listen, you join the dream, shaping it with your attention. Perhaps humanity itself is a long, continuous dream, billions of minds imagining together, painting existence into color and sound. The moment just before you wake is the gentlest of all. The dream begins to dissolve like fog touched by dawn. The mind starts to remember its name, its body, its day. But for an instant, both worlds overlap: the vast and the ordinary, the infinite and the intimate. That overlap is where wonder lives. It's the reminder that even waking life is only another layer of dreaming. Maybe this is why the line between reality and imagination has always felt so fragile. Because it is. The same mind that builds dreams also builds the world you call real. Perception is interpretation. Awareness is creation. To be conscious is to dream with eyes open. So tonight, as sleep approaches, don't think of it as leaving the world behind. Think of it as turning the page. You are not falling away from life. You are entering its quieter chapter, the one written in the language of feeling instead of form. Let the images come. Let them flow without judgment. Let them show you what your waking mind can't yet say. You are safe in that space. You are both the story and the storyteller, the dream and the dreamer. And perhaps, just beyond both, something greater. A consciousness that dreams through every living thing, endlessly creating, endlessly waking, endlessly sleeping. The dream dreams itself. And you, tonight, are part of it, drifting, dissolving, glowing softly in the vast imagination of the universe. Sleep well inside that thought. The world will wait until morning. If you listen closely enough, you might hear it, a faint harmony beneath everything. Not made of sound, but of order, of pattern, of rhythm. It's the music of numbers, the secret heartbeat of the universe. Every falling leaf, every orbiting planet, every flicker of light follows a hidden tempo. You may not hear it, but you can feel it, the sense that things fit, that there's meaning in their motion. Mathematics is not invention, it is discovery. It's the realization that the world hums with structure, that even chaos dances to a tune. From the smallest atom to the widest galaxy, numbers are the same. They repeat, reflect, and echo through every layer of reality. A spiral in a snail's shell mirrors the swirl of a hurricane. The same sequence describes both the Fibonacci pattern, that quiet progression found in petals, pine cones, galaxies, and the walls of your fingerprints. It is the universe counting softly to itself. We rarely notice, yet everything, familiar music, motion, memory, is built upon proportion. When a note sounds pleasing, it's because the vibrations share simple ratios. Two strings vibrating in harmony are speaking the same mathematical language. What we call beauty might simply be resonance, the body recognizing itself in number. To the ancient Greeks, mathematics was not a tool, it was a prayer. They believed the world was written in geometry, that shapes were sacred forms of reason, circles for eternity, triangles for balance, squares for stability. To them, to study math was to listen to the divine. And perhaps they were right, because numbers do not just describe nature, they predict it. They reveal the laws that bind light and time, that make the planets trace ellipses instead of chaos. Without them, there would be no bridges, no stars, no rhythm in a heartbeat. Numbers are the quiet architects of existence. Consider the number pi, an endless, whispering decimal that describes every circle that will ever exist. It never repeats, never ends, yet it remains perfectly defined. Within its infinite digits hides every possible pattern, every poem, every melody, every moment waiting to be discovered. Pi is both order and infinity, perfection and mystery. It is a reminder that even within logic, wonder never runs out. Then there are the primes, those strange, solitary numbers that refuse to divide evenly by anything but themselves and one. They seem random, unpredictable, scattered across infinity without pattern. Yet deep in their chaos lies hidden structure, waiting to be found. They are the heartbeat of encryption, the guardians of secrets. Even now, mathematicians search for the rhythm behind their randomness, chasing the ghost of perfect order. In mathematics, as in life, simplicity often hides the profound. A single equation, E equals mc squared, captures the interchange of energy and matter, the way starlight and flesh are born from the same source. It's almost poetic. Matter is music slowed down enough to touch, energy condensed into form, and when it's released, it sings again. The patterns continue everywhere. Crystals grow according to geometry. Snowflakes branch in hexagonal symmetry, each one unique, yet following the same invisible rules. Bees build honeycombs not for beauty but for efficiency. Yet in doing so, they create perfect hexagons, the most balanced shape nature knows. Mathematics is not imposed on the world, it's revealed through it. It is the shape of necessity turned into art. Even chaos, when studied closely, becomes pattern. The swirl of smoke, the flutter of a leaf in the wind at first glance, random, but beneath it lies fractal order, self-similarity repeating endlessly. Zoom in or zoom out, and the pattern remains. Infinity folded into the finite. It is as if the universe cannot help but repeat its own beauty. When you look at the night sky, you are seeing math written in light. Stars arrange themselves into balance, gravity pulling, motion compensating, energy flowing. The orbits of moons, the spacing of planets, the shape of spiral arms, all obey equations that are at once precise and poetic. And yet, no mathematician designed them. They simply are. The cosmos is fluent in its own numbers. Perhaps that is why numbers feel calming. They remind us that the world has rhythm, even when we cannot see it. When life feels chaotic, the idea that 2 plus 2 will always be 4 is a kind of peace, certainty in an uncertain universe. But even within that certainty, there is room for mystery, for infinities, for irrational numbers that stretch forever without repeating, for questions that no proof can close. Mathematics humbles and comforts at once. Imagine, for a moment, that you could hear the patterns directly. The frequency of the planets, the spin of electrons, the oscillation of atoms. It would sound like music, vast and slow, a cosmic symphony spanning every scale of being. Pythagoras once called it the music of the spheres, not a sound you can hear, but a harmony you can feel. Every orbit, every vibration, every beat of your heart contributes a note to that infinite song. You are part of it too. Your pulse is rhythm, your breath is ratio, the space between your steps, the cadence of your thoughts, all expressions of number in motion. When you breathe evenly, you are aligning with that cosmic mathematics, that symmetry that underlies calm itself. Perhaps that's why counting helps us fall asleep. Not because numbers are dull, but because they are constant. Each one, a small, steady step toward stillness. Each one, a whisper of order that quiets the chaos of thought. The music of numbers doesn't ask to be understood, it asks to be felt. It is the lullaby of logic, the hum beneath being. When you see a spiral shell, a snowflake, or the curve of a distant galaxy, you are seeing the same song expressed in different keys. So tonight, as you drift between thought and dream, remember that the world is not random, it is rhythmic. That beneath confusion lies structure. Beneath noise lies harmony. Every breath you take is part of an equation too vast to finish, but simple enough to live. And if you listen closely to the wind, to your heartbeat, to the soft silence between you, might just hear it. The universe counting to infinity, in perfect, peaceful time. The world, at first glance, seems restless. Clouds twist and scatter without pattern. Flames flicker in unpredictable shapes. Rivers carve paths that appear random, never the same twice. And yet, behind every motion that looks chaotic, there lies a deeper kind of order, an order too intricate, too alive, for the human eye to see easily. Chaos is not the opposite of harmony. It is harmony stretched beyond comprehension. A pattern so vast and sensitive that the smallest change, the flutter of a leaf, the warmth of a hand, can ripple across it endlessly. This is what scientists call the butterfly effect. The idea that a single breath of air can, through infinite interactions, change the course of a storm halfway across the world. It sounds magical, but it isn't magic. It's sensitivity, the universe listening to itself with exquisite precision. No moment is ever repeated, yet none is lost. Everything influences everything else, quietly, invisibly. The world isn't a machine with predictable gears. It's a field of relationships, alive with feedback and balance. Look closer at what appears chaotic, and you begin to see the hidden geometry beneath. Turbulent water, though unpredictable, contains spirals that echo through every scale of motion. Lightning branches in fractal lines, splitting the sky with perfect mathematical grace. Even the veins of a leaf, the cracks in dry earth, the curl of smoke all follow subtle laws of self-similarity. Patterns, repeating within patterns, like echoes fading into distance. Fractals, they're called. Infinite shapes folded within themselves, identical at every level. A coastline seen from space and a pebble seen from inches away both possess the same rough beauty. It is as if nature cannot help but repeat her signature, no matter how wild her gestures appear. We like to think of order as straight lines, as symmetry and predictability. But true order, the kind the universe prefers, is alive. It moves, it breathes, it bends without breaking. Chaos is that living order too complex to predict, too sensitive to repeat, yet still following rules written in the fabric of existence. Consider the weather. Meteorologists can forecast patterns for days, sometimes weeks. But beyond that, the system becomes too delicate, too reactive to every small influence. Not because it's random, but because it's perfectly connected. Every gust of wind is in conversation with every cloud. Every drop of rain carries the memory of countless others. The same is true inside you. Your heartbeat, your breathing, even your thoughts follow chaotic rhythms. Not erratic, but alive, infinitely adaptable, never identical. If your heart were perfectly regular, it would mean something was wrong. Health itself depends on small variations, on the subtle unpredictability that keeps systems resilient. Life, it turns out, thrives in the space between order and disorder at the edge of chaos. Maybe that's where beauty lives, too. In imperfection, in asymmetry, in the way things almost fall apart, but don't. A flame flickers, a wave collapses, a tree leans against the wind. Each moment holds the possibility of failure, and in that possibility, we find motion, change, meaning. Mathematicians studying chaos discovered something profound. Within every apparent randomness, there is structure. Not simple structure, but strange attractors, shapes in the sea of data that reveal invisible guidance. A system might never repeat, but it also never wanders aimlessly. It circles within bounds, held by unseen laws. Chaos, they realized, is not disorder. It is infinite sensitivity within order. In that realization lies a kind of comfort. Because if the universe behaves this way, then maybe we do too. Our lives, our emotions, our histories, they rarely follow straight lines. They twist and return, diverge and reconnect. We make choices, We change paths, we start over, yet somehow, there's coherence. An unseen rhythm guiding the apparent mess. The heart of chaos is not confusion, it's connection. Think about fire. Each flame is unpredictable, its motion impossible to map, and yet, all fire obeys the same laws. Its beauty comes from that balance between freedom and rule, too much order, and it dies, too much chaos, and it explodes. Between those extremes lies the dance. That's where the living world finds its grace. We can see the same truth in art, in music, in thought. A melody too perfect becomes dull, too wild, and it loses shape. But somewhere in the middle, just between pattern and surprise, the song becomes alive. That tension, that balance, is the essence of creativity. Perhaps creation itself, from galaxies to dreams, follows the same rule. When you watch waves breaking, you're watching mathematics made fluid. When you hear rainfall, you're hearing randomness shaped by rhythm. When you breathe, you're part of that same interplay, the endless negotiation between stability and motion. Chaos isn't something to be tamed, it's something to be trusted. Because maybe what feels like confusion in life is simply complexity we haven't yet learned to see. A phase of motion too large for one lifetime to understand. Every choice you make, every emotion that ripples through you, is part of a larger pattern, one that may only reveal itself far beyond your horizon. You are not outside the order. You are one of its fractals, repeating the whole in your own small form. So when the world feels unpredictable, when nothing seems to fit, remember, chaos isn't the absence of meaning. It's meaning in motion. It's the breath of the universe between one pattern and the next. And just because you can't see the design doesn't mean it isn't there. Somewhere, beneath the noise, the pattern holds. Somewhere, every motion resolves into balance. Even the most turbulent storm eventually becomes still water again. So let the wind move through you. Let the current carry you forward. Trust that the chaos knows where it's going, because it always has. The world was never built in straight lines. And yet, wherever you look, there is balance. Leaves grow in mirrored pairs. Wings unfold in equal halves. Snowflakes spin in quiet geometry. The more closely we look at nature, the more it begins to resemble art, as if creation itself is guided by a taste for beauty. Symmetry is not about precision. It is about peace. It's the feeling that arises when the universe takes a deep breath and settles into balance. You see it in the curve of a shell, the pattern of a fern, the structure of a crystal order woven through chaos, difference wrapped around unity. Symmetry is nature remembering its center. To the human eye, symmetry feels right. It comforts. It calms. Psychologists say that our minds are wired to seek balance, that we find symmetrical faces more beautiful, symmetrical music more soothing, symmetrical motion more satisfying. Perhaps this is because we, too, are symmetrical. Our hearts beat along an invisible line that divides us into mirrored halves. The body recognizes itself in the world around it. But symmetry is never perfect. Look closer at a leaf, and you'll see small differences, tiny asymmetries that make it alive. Perfect balance would mean stillness, and stillness means nothing moves. So, the universe always allows a little variation, a little imperfection, to keep the pattern breathing. The beauty lies not in perfection, but in near perfection, the balance that trembles, alive and forgiving. Even the smallest particles obey symmetrical rules. Physics tells us that for every action, there's an equal and opposite one. For every positive charge, a negative. For every particle, an antiparticle. Matter and antimatter, two reflections of the same essence. The laws of symmetry hold the universe steady, ensuring that energy and motion stay in harmony. If they were to break, the world itself would lose its shape. And yet, symmetry sometimes does break. That's how new things are born. In the beginning, when the universe was perfectly balanced, everything existed as potential. It was only when symmetry broke, when imbalance entered, that stars, galaxies, and life could form. Creation, it seems, requires a gentle flaw. Without it, there would be no difference, no growth, no story to tell. We live in that space between symmetry and asymmetry, between harmony and variation. That's where beauty finds its voice. A flower's petals spiral around a hidden ratio, the golden mean, 1.618. A number that appears everywhere, in hurricanes, in galaxies, in the proportions of the human face, even in the rhythm of music that soothes the heart. It's as if the universe repeats this single idea across every scale: balance through motion. When you listen to music, you're hearing symmetry in time. Notes repeat in rhythm, harmonies reflect one another, melodies rise and fall in mirrored arcs. And when you look at a painting, you see the same principle in space, shapes arranged in harmony, colors balanced like tones. Every art we create is a small act of symmetry, the human echo of a cosmic design. Symmetry is not limited to sight or sound. It lives in relationships too. In the give and take of conversation, the balance of listening and speaking, of holding and letting go. Even love, in its healthiest form, is symmetrical. Two beings, mirroring care, reflecting kindness, shaping each other until they find equilibrium. Perhaps this is why we crave connection. We are searching for balance outside ourselves, to mirror the symmetry we already carry within. Mathematicians find comfort in symmetry because it simplifies the infinite. Artists find inspiration in it because it opens the heart. Physicists find it because it explains how the smallest forces stay aligned. And poets find it because it feels like truth, the unity behind the differences. Even time carries symmetry. Day follows night, light returns after shadow. Seasons turn in a loop that always comes home. Birth and death mirror each other, two doors that open in opposite directions, leading into the same quiet beyond. Every ending is the reflection of a beginning. Every loss, a new alignment. There is symmetry in the mind, too, between reason and emotion, thought and intuition. One half of the brain measures, the other imagines. Together, they keep us human. Too much reason, and we lose warmth. Too much emotion, and we lose clarity. But together, they create understanding, a symmetry of knowing and feeling. The most profound symmetry, though, might be the one between the inner and the outer world. The patterns we discover in nature reflect patterns within us. The spiral of galaxies mirrors the spiral of DNA. The branching of lightning echoes the branching of neurons in the brain. It's as if the universe keeps drawing the same shapes, from the vast to the microscopic, repeating its favorite ideas through endless scales of being. We are living reflections of that geometry, the universe folding in on itself to see what beauty feels like. Sometimes, when you stand in a quiet forest or watch waves form and collapse at the shore, you can feel it, the pull toward balance. The body relaxes, the mind slows. You begin to sense the symmetry that connects you to everything else. The same rhythm that turns the tides moves through your breath. The same order that shapes galaxies shapes the curve of your palm. And in that realization, peace arrives. Because symmetry is not only out there, in nature's patterns, it is within you. Every heartbeat, every inhale and exhale, every blink is part of a balanced rhythm older than memory. You don't have to create harmony. You are harmony. So tonight, if the world feels uneven or out of tune, remember, the symmetry hasn't vanished. It's only hidden in motion. Even imbalance is part of balance when seen across time. The universe is always folding itself back toward equilibrium. Somewhere beneath the noise, beneath the rushing hours and restless thoughts, everything is quietly mirroring everything else. A flower, a galaxy, a heartbeat, all drawn from the same invisible line. The hidden symmetry. And when you close your eyes, you can feel it, perfect balance, disguised as life, breathing through you, beautifully unfinished. Time feels endless, yet it had a beginning. Or so we think. The story of the universe and of us begins with that question whispered by ancient stars. When did time begin? To answer it is to step outside the comfort of clocks and calendars, into something larger, quieter, and almost impossible to imagine. Because before time, there was no before. The moment the universe came into being, so did the ticking. Space and time were born together, two threads woven from the same invisible fabric. 13.8 billion years ago, there was no past, no distance, no memory. There was only potential compressed, silent, waiting. A single trembling instant when everything that would ever exist fit inside a point smaller than a grain of sand. No atoms, no light, no sound. And then, without warning, it expanded. Not into space, but as space. The universe didn't explode into emptiness. Emptiness unfolded with it. That expansion was not just the birth of matter, it was the birth of time itself. Each second since then has been the unfolding of that first breath. Every moment you have ever lived, every heartbeat, every night sky, is part of that same expansion still in motion. When cosmologists look deep into the night, they are looking backward through time. Light travels slowly, and so the farther away we see, the older the view becomes. Galaxies a billion light years distant show us what the universe looked like when it was young. The cosmic background radiation, that faint, omnipresent glow, is the afterimage of creation's first light. A whisper from when the universe was only a few 100,000 years old, still warm, still glowing, still remembering. Before that light, there was darkness, not emptiness, but unformed possibility. And before that, even science grows silent. No theory can describe what existed in the first fractions of a second, or what, if anything, came before. Maybe there was another universe that collapsed to give birth to ours. Maybe time flows in loops, endlessly expanding and folding back, like breath. Or maybe beginnings are illusions, and time has no edge at all. It's strange to think that even our questions about before might not make sense. Because before needs time, and time didn't exist yet. The universe did not come after nothing. It came with time, the way dawn comes with light. Every second that passes is an echo of that first expansion. Every clock on Earth, from the beating of your heart to the turning of planets, follows rhythms that began in that first tremor. We are all, in a quiet way, living inside the continuation of the Big Bang. Each breath is a thread of that first unfolding. You are part of the same movement that once created stars. But perhaps the question, when did time begin, is also a mirror. Because while cosmic time began billions of years ago, personal time begins differently. For you, it began the moment you first opened your eyes. Before that, stillness. For others, it begins when love begins, or when memory awakens, or when loss changes the shape of days. Time, for all its cosmic certainty, remains deeply human in how it feels. Think of a child's first memory. A sound, a color, the touch of light through a window. That moment is a small creation, a beginning of awareness. In each life, time begins many times, each awakening a new universe of perception. And maybe that's the secret symmetry. The birth of a cosmos and the birth of a memory follow the same laws. Both are sparks of awareness, expanding into wonder. We often picture time as a line, a single direction from past to future. But the universe doesn't experience time that way. In physics, time can stretch, slow, and even fold, depending on gravity and speed. Around black holes, time itself bends like light, slowed to a crawl at the edge of the abyss. For some particles, time may not pass at all. It's as if the universe keeps multiple tempos at once, a symphony of moments overlapping, harmonizing. If time began once, could it begin again? Could there be other universes, each with their own ticking, each birthing new realities? Some scientists think so, that creation is continuous, that beginnings happen everywhere, all the time. Every collapsing star, every spark of energy, every shift in quantum fields might be the birth of another clock. An infinite sea of beginnings within beginnings, all humming softly in the dark. And where does it all lead? Does time have an end? Perhaps not. Maybe it simply changes form, stretching into stillness, slowing into silence, becoming something beyond motion. Perhaps time doesn't end. It rests. Like the tide, pulling back before returning. When you lie still, and feel your own heartbeat. You are feeling time made personal, the body's metronome keeping rhythm with the cosmos. Every breath is a small participation in that grand expansion. Your past and the universe's past are not separate stories. They are the same river, moving through different channels. The next time you look at the stars, remember this. The light that touches your eyes tonight began its journey long before the earth had oceans, before the first tree, before life itself. And yet, that light waited all this time to meet you here. You are the present meeting the ancient past. You are where time gathers to notice itself. Maybe that's what it means for time to begin, not an explosion, not a number, but an awakening, a realization. The moment something in the universe became aware enough to wonder, when did it all start? And maybe, in that wondering, time began again. Every clock moves the same way forward. The hands never turn back. The sun rises, then sets. A leaf falls, but never returns to its branch. Moments pass, quietly but permanently. And though we can move anywhere in space, time allows us only one direction. But why? Why does time flow forward at all? Why not backward, or in circles, or not at all? The universe, after all, doesn't seem to prefer one direction in its laws. The equations of physics work just as well if time is reversed. A dropped glass could, in theory, unshatter. Rain could rise. Memories could arrive before moments. And yet, none of that happens. Something subtle, invisible, persistent, keeps everything moving one way. Scientists call it the arrow of time. It's not drawn by motion or distance, but by change, by the spread of energy from order to disorder. Every process in the universe, from a burning star to a melting ice cube, follows that same tendency. Heat disperses, structure fades. What was once precise becomes scattered. This drift toward randomness is called entropy, and it is what gives time its direction. Imagine a glass of water with an ice cube. The ice melts, cooling the liquid until everything reaches balance. You will never see the water spontaneously reassemble itself into ice, not because it's forbidden, but because it's infinitely unlikely. There are simply far more ways for things to be disordered than ordered. So the universe drifts forward, from precision toward possibility. Entropy doesn't mean destruction. It means evolution. It means movement. It's the quiet reason that stars burn and fade, that clouds shift, that you grow and age. It's not a flaw in the system, it's the system breathing. And that breath has direction, forward. But maybe there's more to it than physics. Maybe time feels forward because we remember backward. Memory, after all, is a one-way mirror. We can recall what has happened, but not what will. Our minds are built to hold the past and anticipate the future, never to switch them. It's how we make meaning, by looking back to understand and looking ahead to imagine. Perhaps the arrow of time begins inside us. When you watch a sunset, you feel its finality. You know it won't rise again in the same way. But the light doesn't vanish, it only travels elsewhere. The photons that touch your eyes continue outward, crossing space forever. The moment ends here, but begins again somewhere else. So perhaps time's forward motion isn't a loss, it's a passing of light. Think of music. A melody depends on sequence. You can't play the notes backward and expect the same feeling. The beauty of a song comes from its flow, the anticipation, the resolution, the gentle unfolding of sound through time. Life is like that. We move forward because that's how meaning is made. Each note, each day, depends on the one before. In a sense, time is creation. Every instant adds something new that wasn't there before. A universe that looped or ran backward would not be alive. It would be static, eternal, without story. The forward arrow gives existence a plot, a beginning, middle, and end. Without it, there would be no change, no learning, no growth, no love. Still, there's a strange comfort in knowing that physics itself doesn't forbid reversal. Somewhere, in theory, every moment is preserved a frozen frame in the film of reality. All times exist simultaneously, layered like pages in a book. We experience them one at a time, turning each page in order, but the story already exists as a whole. Perhaps eternity isn't infinite future, it's everything that has ever been, already written. And we, moving forward, are simply reading it line by line. That thought doesn't make time less precious, it makes it sacred. Each passing second is a doorway we step through only once. And though it disappears behind us, its imprint remains forever in the universe's record. Every word spoken, every heartbeat, every look shared, all preserved as patterns in space-time, gentle ripples that will never fade completely. Maybe that's why nostalgia feels so deep, because some part of us senses that the past still exists, just out of reach, that every version of us still stands somewhere in that vast map of moments, younger, older, waiting, remembering. Time moves forward, but we leave traces behind, and the universe keeps them all. There's another mystery, though, why we feel time moving. Physics describes its structure, but not its sensation. We perceive the present as a moving edge between what has been and what will be. But in truth, there is only the now, a single shimmering point sliding through eternity. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Only the moment is alive. And yet, that moment feels like motion, a gentle drift downstream. Maybe that's because the universe itself is still unfolding. Space continues to expand. Galaxies move apart. The cosmic story keeps writing itself. We are carried along that expansion like leaves on a slow, endless current. To move forward in time is simply to stay part of creation. When you think about it, moving forward is all we ever do. Every breath, every blink, every thought is a surrender to change. Even as we sleep, the world turns, cells renew, the sky shifts. There is no stillness that is not temporary. And perhaps that's not something to resist, it's something to trust. So tonight, as you lie under the quiet weight of time, let yourself feel its flow, not as a rush, but as a river. It does not hurry. It does not repeat. It simply moves, carrying everything gently from one moment to the next. You don't need to chase it or fight it. You only need to float. Time flows forward because life does. Because the universe prefers creation over rewind. Because love grows, stars burn, and stories unfold. The arrow doesn't point to loss, it points to becoming, to movement, to meaning. And in the end, perhaps time's greatest secret is that it never really leaves us behind. It carries us forward, not away, but deeper, into the next heartbeat, the next breath, the next beautiful moment, waiting to be lived. One day, the clocks will stop, not the ones on our walls, nor the ones in our phones, but the deeper ones. The clocks written into matter itself. The ticking of decay, of motion, of change. Even time, as we know it, will one day grow still. It's difficult to imagine an ending that includes everything, a silence, not just of sound, but of becoming. Yet physicists tell us that such a future awaits, a distant era when the stars have burned their last fuel, when galaxies fade like the final embers of a dying fire, and the universe enters what they call the heat death. The name sounds cold, but the truth is softer. It's not death in the sense of destruction, but of completion. Every flame will have shared its warmth. Every pattern will have played its part. The cosmos will settle into balance so perfect that nothing more will need to happen. In that far future so distant that our language can't contain the number, the stars will be gone. Only remnants will remain. Black dwarfs, neutron ghosts, and the invisible wells of black holes. Even those, over unfathomable eons, will evaporate into faint light. And that light will stretch thinner and thinner as space itself expands. The last warmth will fade into background, and the last movement will slow. At that point, time as we understand it will lose meaning. Because time needs change, it needs something to measure. Without events, without difference, time no longer passes. It just is. A still, endless now. But what sounds like a tragedy may actually be a kind of peace. The universe, after billions of years of motion, will finally rest. Not ended, completed. Every atom will have sung its song. Every star will have burned its story. Every mind will have dreamed its dream. Nothing lost, only quiet. A deep stillness after the longest symphony ever played. Some physicists think this is not the final act, that even after that silence, tiny fluctuations might awaken new beginnings. Little sparks of quantum breath, creating new universes from the calm. If so, time does not die. It turns in its sleep and dreams again. And perhaps that's how it's always been. Eternity, not as a straight line, but as an ocean of ripples. One wave rises, becomes everything, then falls back to make room for the next. Each wave is a universe, each crest a lifetime, each pause between them the quiet end of time. For us, endings are intimate, not cosmic. A single sunset feels vast enough. The last page of a book, the final note of a song, the moment you close your eyes at night, these are tiny rehearsals for the great stillness. Yet they never feel like loss. They feel like completion, like peace after effort. Perhaps the universe will feel the same. There is beauty in finality, in knowing that everything has its turn, that even stars are part of a natural rhythm of ignition, radiance, and rest. When a star collapses, its matter doesn't disappear. It becomes the seed of something new. And if everything follows that same pattern, then even the end of time is only a transformation. Maybe, in that distant stillness, what remains is not darkness, but memory, a quiet awareness of all that was. Every light that ever shone, every hand that ever touched another, every idea, every sound, suspended like constellations in the calm. In some way, you are already part of that eternity. Every atom in your body will endure long after your name is forgotten. They will drift, scatter, and someday rest in the slow silence that awaits all things. But their story will not vanish. It will become the silence itself, a silence so vast, it contains everything. Time began as expansion, as breath, as motion. It will end as rest. And in that symmetry, there is grace, the inhale and the exhale of existence. The opening and closing of infinity's eyes. When you think of the end, don't think of a clock striking zero. Think of dusk, the world dimming softly, the sky exhaling its final light. No pain, no noise, only the hush that follows understanding. The quiet end of time will not erase what came before. It will hold it, gently, like a parent tucking a child into sleep. Every life, every thought, every atom will be folded into the great stillness, not forgotten, just complete. And if, beyond that stillness, something stirs again, a spark, a ripple, a new beginning, then time will breathe once more, unfurling into another endless story. And perhaps, in some future universe, you will wake again not remembering this one, but carrying its peace within you. Because nothing truly ends. It only changes its rhythm. It only slows into silence before the next note begins. So tonight, as the hours drift by and the world grows softer, listen to the quiet between seconds. That stillness, that pause between breaths, is the echo of eternity. It's what time will sound like when it finally falls asleep. And in that soundless moment, everything you, me, the stars will rest together in the quiet end of time. Light is the oldest traveler. It leaves stars, crosses eternity, and ends its journey in your eyes. Every time you look at the night sky, you are seeing messages sent millions of years ago, tiny, patient letters from the past, still finding their way home. To most of us, light feels ordinary. It fills our rooms, outlines our days, defines what we call visible. But in truth, light is one of the strangest things the universe has ever created. It moves like a wave, yet behaves like a particle. It has no mass, no rest, and yet it carries energy enough to paint worlds and burn stars. Light is motion without weight, presence without substance, a paradox that quietly sustains everything. Imagine a single photon leaving the surface of a star. For that photon, time does not pass. It moves at the speed of light, and at that speed, time itself stands still. From its own perspective, the moment it was born and the moment it reaches your eye are the same. Across millions of years, it experiences no distance, no waiting. It exists entirely in the now. Perhaps that's why light feels sacred, because it never ages. It is pure being, unburdened by time. It is what the universe looks like when it doesn't decay. Every color you've ever seen is light, revealing a secret. Red is slower, softer waves stretched long by motion and distance. Blue is faster, tighter, more eager. The rainbow is not a spectrum of things, but a spectrum of speeds, energy translated into emotion. When you look at color, you are seeing rhythm. You are seeing the dance of vibration turn visible. Even darkness is not truly dark. In the vacuum of space, photons drift unseen, scattered and rare. They move silently, carrying the memory of ancient stars. And every so often, one finds its mark touching a planet, a stone, a drop of water, an eye. That touch is what we call illumination. Light makes vision possible, but it also gives the world its warmth, its balance, its chance to live. The energy that feeds every forest, every ocean, every heartbeat on Earth began in the fusion fire of the sunlight transformed into life, wave turned into blood and breath. And yet, for all its familiarity, light remains deeply mysterious. No one truly knows what it is. We can describe it, measure its speed, its wavelength, its behavior, but at its essence, it seems to belong to two worlds at once, the physical and the abstract, the particle and the wave, the finite and the infinite. Perhaps that's why ancient cultures saw light as divine. It was never just illumination, it was revelation, the moment hidden things became visible. And maybe, in some way, they were right. Every discovery, every truth, begins with light, with the moment something unseen becomes seen. Even now, physicists find themselves humbled by its perfection. Light travels at exactly 299,792,458 meters per second, a number so precise that it defines our measurements of space and time. It is the speed limit of the universe, the boundary between causality and chaos, the one constant that never bends. Everything else, space, motion, gravity, depends on it. Without light, there would be no meaning to before or after. Light is the thread that ties time together. But light can bend gently, beautifully, when it passes near a massive object. Stars curve it, black holes fold it back on itself. Gravity and light are partners in an endless dance. Even in darkness, light moves according to gravity's invisible rhythm, like water flowing through a valley carved by space itself. This bending is what allows us to see distant galaxies twice, reflected and mirrored by the warping of space-time. Light is patient enough to follow the curves of the cosmos, faithful enough to arrive even when the path is twisted. You are surrounded by it not just in what you see, but in what you are. Your body glows, faintly in infrared. Your cells communicate with photons. Your thoughts, translated into nerve impulses, rely on the same electromagnetic energy that fills the stars. You are, in the quietest sense, made of light slowed down enough to take shape. When we die, the body cools, the light disperses, but nothing truly disappears. Energy cannot be destroyed. The photons that once warmed your skin, that left your body as heat or motion or memory, will continue on, blending into the great luminous background of space. They may touch another world someday. They may become someone else's sunrise. Light doesn't just travel, it connects. It links all places and all moments. It touches every atom and every soul. When you stand in sunlight, you are in conversation with the cosmos, receiving ancient energy that began long before your birth. And when you light a candle or turn on a lamp, you continue that conversation, sending new photons into the dark. Perhaps that is why humans have always loved light. Not just because it reveals, but because it feels alive, a bridge between what is seen and what is felt. Every flicker of fire, every glow of dawn, is a small echo of the Big Bang, the first flash that turned nothing into everything. And when you close your eyes, light doesn't vanish. It becomes memory, soft shapes, after images, inner suns glowing behind the lids. Even in darkness, the mind continues to shimmer. Awareness itself may be a kind of light, the way consciousness illuminates experience from within. So tonight, if you find yourself awake in the dark, remember that you are surrounded by it still, the secret life of light. Drifting through walls, through space, through time. You are breathing in the quiet glow of the cosmos. Every atom of you was once touched by starlight. Every heartbeat is a pulse of ancient illumination. The stars may be far away, but their light is still arriving, patient, eternal, and unchanged. It began before you, but it ends with you seeing it. And in that act of seeing, the journey of light is complete. It has traveled across the universe, only to become what you are seeing now, a shimmer of awareness in the gentle night. If you step outside on a clear night and look up, you'll notice something strange. For all the brilliance of the stars, most of what you see is darkness. Endless, deep, unlit. At first it feels empty, a void surrounding the sparks of creation. But the longer you gaze, the more the darkness begins to feel alive, soft, enduring, necessary. This is the shadow between stars, and it is not nothing. It is the quiet stage on which everything else performs. The stars shine because of it, not in spite of it. Light needs contrast to be seen. Without shadow, there would be no shape, no meaning, no night sky, only endless glare. The universe, for all its vastness, is mostly dark. Not just dark to our eyes, but in substance. Most of the cosmos is made of things we cannot see or touch. Dark matter and dark energy, two invisible ingredients that make up almost everything that exists. The stars, planets, and galaxies we know are only a small fraction. The bright foam on the surface of an unseen ocean. Dark matter does not glow or reflect. It drifts silently, forming an invisible skeleton for the galaxies to cling to. Without it, stars could not hold together. Galaxies would scatter, and the cosmic web would unravel into dust. The darkness is not absence, it is structure. The unseen hand that holds the light in place. And dark energy, that mysterious force pushing the universe to expand faster and faster, is even stranger. It is the pressure of nothingness, a quiet urge for space itself to grow. It stretches the stars farther apart, thins the fabric of reality, and writes the future of everything in silence. The universe is not exploding outward, it is relaxing into itself, guided by the invisible. It's humbling, isn't it, to realize that most of existence cannot be seen, that what we call darkness is simply what lies beyond our perception. We live surrounded by the invisible, nourished by it, held inside it like children in the calm of a great, quiet ocean. Even here on Earth, darkness is not empty. The night sky above you is filled with photons too faint to see, with dust glowing gently in infrared, with magnetic fields, radiation, whispers of ancient starlight. The dark is never still. It's only subtle, and in the smallest ways, it teaches balance. Your eyes, when faced with shadow, begin to open wider, searching for what the light cannot reveal. In darkness, the body slows, the mind softens. We turn inward, becoming reflective, thoughtful, closer to the rhythm of the earth itself. Night is not a curtain, it's an invitation, a reminder that seeing isn't the only way of knowing. Maybe that's why darkness has always frightened and comforted us in equal measure. It hides, but it also protects. It conceals, but it also cradles. When the day ends, we don't vanish. We return to something older, a womb of silence, a world without edges. Our ancestors looked at the stars and saw gods, but they also saw the spaces between them and wondered what slept there. They sensed, long before science did, that the dark might be more powerful than the light, that creation itself began in shadow. Because before the first star lit the sky, before the first photon broke through the void, there was darkness, and it was good. Every dawn you witness is a rebirth from that darkness, the light returning, the world remade. But light never conquers the dark. It only shares space with it. The two are not enemies but partners, trading places endlessly, each giving the other meaning. There's a quiet lesson in that even in our own lives, the dark moments are not failures of light. They are part of the balance. Time spent in stillness, in not knowing, is not wasted. It is where understanding grows roots. It's the pause that lets brightness feel brighter when it returns. The same is true in the universe. Stars are born in darkness, in cold clouds of gas and dust, where gravity gathers silence until it ignites. Every light you see began as a shadow. The night sky is full of those memories of beginnings, hidden in the black. Even the Milky Way, that faint mist across the heavens, owes its beauty to darkness. Those deep rifts, the lanes of cosmic dust, block the light behind them, creating patterns, giving the galaxy its shape. Without shadow, there would be no Milky Way. So the next time you find yourself surrounded by night, try not to fill it with light too quickly. Let your eyes adjust. Let the dark reveal its quiet texture. It's not empty, it's alive with what you can't yet see. Maybe this is what peace really means: to sit comfortably inside the unlit, to trust that you are held even when you cannot see how. Because the same darkness that fills the sky fills the space between atoms, the pauses between heartbeats, the quiet between thoughts. It is not nothing, it is everything in potential. Light moves through it. Matter depends on it. You are shaped by it. The universe breathes through shadow. And somewhere in that breath, between the stars and the unseen, you exist, a flicker of awareness inside the balance of both. So tonight, don't wish the darkness away. Let it rest beside you. It has been here since before time began, and it will remain long after the last star fades. Not as a void, but as the gentle memory of everything that ever shone. The shadow between stars is not an ending. It is the universe closing its eyes, just for a moment, to dream again. Close your eyes. Even in the darkness, there is still a glow. A faint shimmer behind your eyelids, not from lamps or stars, but from within. That's the light that sleeps inside you. It's not made of photons or fire. It's older than both. It's the quiet awareness that sees even when the eyes are closed, the warmth that lingers long after a memory fades. You can't point to it, but you can feel it in stillness, in the space between thoughts, in the soft hum of simply being alive. From the first heartbeat before birth, a kind of brightness begins, a spark, not of flame, but of intention. Every cell in your body listens to that pulse. Every neuron speaks in flashes, tiny bursts of light-like energy that ripple through the vast architecture of your mind. You are not just in light, you are light, slowed down into living form. Inside the brain, communication happens with a quiet brilliance. Neurons fire with electric sparks, microbursts of energy so small, yet so constant that together they create the rhythm we call consciousness. Every thought, every dream is a flicker in that inner cosmos. At night, as you drift towards sleep, that light softens but never goes out. It simply turns inward, like a star folding into itself, resting. Sometimes you can feel it. A warmth in the chest when you think of someone you love. A sudden calm when you stand in sunlight after a long winter. A quiet strength that appears out of nowhere in difficult times. That is the same light, shifting, living, remembering. It doesn't belong to you alone. It belongs to everything that has ever lived. For billions of years, light has moved through the universe, transforming, recycling, becoming new forms again and again. The photons that once left the first stars now drift through you as warmth, as life, as thought. The atoms in your skin were once illuminated by suns that no longer exist, their energy reborn in you. The light within you carries the memory of creation itself. There is a deep comfort in that thought that the glow in your mind is the same glow that once filled the sky. You are not separate from the stars. You are one of their after-images, their living reflection. When you look up at them, you're not looking at something far away. You're looking into a mirror tilted toward the past. Every living thing contains some trace of this inner radiance. The shimmer of fireflies, the bioluminescence in deep oceans, the slow pulse of plankton that light the waves at night. These are the world's reminders that darkness and light coexist peacefully. Life itself glows softly, sometimes literally, sometimes invisibly. Even in your darkest nights, the light inside you doesn't fade. It only hides for a while, waiting for quiet. It knows how to find its way back through music, through kindness, through the slow rhythm of breath. When you feel joy for no reason, that's it flickering again. When you feel hope after despair, that's it returning, unhurried, eternal. There's something gentle in realizing that you don't need to create this light. You only need to uncover it. It's always been there, beneath worry, beneath thought, beneath the noise of the world. Even pain can't destroy it, it can only obscure it for a while. But light, by its nature, seeks to reveal. Given time, it always finds a way through. When you look into someone else's eyes, you're seeing that same brightness reflected back. It's why connection feels sacred. Two small universes, recognizing the same source. We call it love, empathy, compassion. But at its core, it's simply shared luminosity. We are drawn to each other because our inner light wants to see itself in another. Even in silence, we glow together. Some traditions call this the soul. Others call it spirit, chi, energy, or consciousness. Science calls it electrical activity. Poets call it fire. But all are describing the same thing, the invisible radiance that animates being. Whatever name you give it, it is the most constant truth of life. You are light remembering itself. And like all light, you cast shadows too. That's part of the balance. Where there is love, there will be loss. Where there is growth, there will be doubt. But even your shadows prove that you are still shining. They move and shift only because something within you still glows. Perhaps that's why we find peace in candlelight, in sunsets, in the stars. The outer light reminds the inner one of what it already knows, that darkness was never the enemy. That stillness is not emptiness. That even in rest, we are radiant. So, if you ever feel lost, close your eyes. Breathe. You don't need to search for the light. You only need to remember it. It has never left you. It has simply quieted, waiting for you to notice. And as you do, you might realize that this light inside you has no edge. It stretches outward, into thought, into love, into everything. The stars above are not watching you from a distance. They are continuing within you, their glow carried forward in a new form. You are their echo, their continuation, their dream. And when you finally drift into sleep, that inner light will not fade. It will travel with you into the landscape of dreams, shaping colors and faces, painting peace. Because even in the quiet of night, the light that sleeps inside you never stops shining. It only changes form. You are, and have always been, a small piece of the universe's first dawn, still glowing, still alive, still softly radiant in the infinite dark. If you could stand far enough away, far beyond the solar wind, you'd see that planets don't just move, they breathe. Each one inhales sunlight, exhales heat. Each one turns and rests, shifts and sings in silence. Their orbits, rotations, seasons, all together form the slow respiration of the cosmos. A rhythm so vast that we can't hear it. But it's there, pulsing through every dawn, every tide, every heartbeat. The earth breathes most visibly. Her lungs are the forests and seas. Every leaf, every wave participates in the same soft exchange, taking in what is given, returning what is needed. Oxygen flows outward, carbon drifts inward, and the balance holds. At night, the planet exhales warmth into the dark. By day, she draws in sunlight like nourishment. The atmosphere is her gentle sigh, a veil that rises and falls with temperature and time. Even the continents move with a kind of breathplates shifting on currents of molten stone. Exhaling mountains, Inhaling oceans. The crust isn't fixed, it floats. Over millions of years, the world inhales entire oceans, folds them beneath its surface, then exhales them again as volcanoes, islands, rain. Every eruption, every raindrop, is part of that slow, geological rhythm. Mars once breathed, too. Long ago, it had seas and storms, clouds and rivers that traced its red plains. Its atmosphere was thicker then, its pulse stronger. Now it sleeps, breathing only faintly through dust storms and frozen winds. Yet even in that stillness, something persists, a ghost rhythm, waiting. When ice melts at the poles and sublimates into vapor, Mars sighs again, reminding us that even silent worlds have memory. Venus breathes in another way. Its dense atmosphere traps heat, swirling in constant motion. Clouds of acid drift across a surface hidden by perpetual haze. Its breath is hot, heavy, fevered, a warning of imbalance. Once, perhaps, it shared Earth's serenity. Now, it shows us what happens when the inhale never meets an exhale. And then there are the giants: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, each one wrapped in storms so vast they could swallow worlds whole. Their atmospheres ripple with waves of pressure, rising and falling in patterns older than life itself. Jupiter's great red spot, that eternal storm, is a single breath stretched over centuries, a steady exhalation of heat and motion. Even their magnetic fields throb like hearts, sending out auroras that shimmer at their poles, silent fireworks marking each rotation. In the far cold, Pluto drifts at the edge of sunlight's reach. There, a single day lasts longer than a week on Earth. Its breath is slow, frozen nitrogen evaporating when the faint warmth of the sun returns, then condensing again as frost when darkness falls. Each cycle takes decades, perhaps centuries. Time itself seems to exhale more gently that far from the sun. The whole solar system, when seen as one, becomes a living rhythm, worlds inhaling light, exhaling shadow, each turn of orbit, a heartbeat in the body of space. Gravity keeps the pulse steady. The sun is its heart, its light, the blood that carries energy outward. Planets respond, not with words but with motion, balancing, circling, breathing together. Even dead worlds breathe in their own quiet way. Moons stretch and flex under the pull of their planets, their ice cracking, melting, freezing again. Beneath Europa's frozen crust lies an ocean that moves with tides, a heartbeat hidden under kilometers of silence. Enceladus, another moon, exhales plumes of water vapor into the black. Each geyser, a soft sigh in space, a promise that warmth and motion still exist where we least expect them. If you could hear these breaths, truly hear them, they wouldn't sound like wind or waves. They would sound like pulse. Slow, deep, patient. Each planet, keeping time to its own rhythm. Each orbit joining the fires, others in a cosmic harmony. Together, they form a symphony so immense that a single measure takes millennia. And you, here on this small blue world, are part of that orchestra. When you breathe in, you mirror the tides. When you breathe out, you echo the spin of the earth. Your heartbeat aligns, unknowingly, to the same gravity that holds the moon. The iron in your blood was forged in a planetary core before the earth even cooled. You are not separate from the planets, you are their continuation. The ancients sensed this. They gave the planets names of gods, believing their motions shaped our fates. And though we no longer call them divine, we still feel their pull. The moon moves the oceans. The sun commands our seasons. Our moods rise and fall with light and dark. Their breath shapes our days. Sometimes, when the world feels heavy, it helps to remember that this planet is breathing beneath you, that the soil shifts, the trees exhale, and the air you draw in now was once inside a forest, a storm, a cloud drifting over mountains. You are part of the planet's respiration, the inhale and exhale of an ancient cycle. Every breath connects you to the wind that circles the Earth, to the auroras that shimmer on Jupiter, to the faint gases rising from Pluto's frozen plains. The breath of planets is the breath of time itself. It reminds us that stillness is only part of motion, that rest is part of rhythm. Nothing truly stops. It only slows. Worlds sleep, wake, and change. And so do we. When you breathe tonight, imagine the Earth breathing with you. Her inhale is your inhale. Her exhale becomes the wind that will one day move over distant oceans. Together, you and this planet share a rhythm, older than language, older than memory. And somewhere out there, Jupiter turns, Saturn sighs, the far worlds drift through frozen breath, and the universe listens alive, quiet, breathing still. Look up. The sky may look empty, but it isn't. It's an ocean not of water, but of air. A vast, invisible sea that begins just above your skin and stretches upward for hundreds of miles. We live at the bottom of it, breathing its currents, carried by its waves. Every cloud you've ever seen is a ripple on its surface. Every gust of wind is a passing tide. Even the calm, when the air seems still, is only the slow settling of invisible motion. The atmosphere is our planet's most delicate skin, thin enough to seem fragile, yet strong enough to hold life in place. Without it, the world would be silent, frozen, unlit. From the ground, the sky seems endless, but if you could rise through it, you'd discover its layers, each one thinner, colder, quieter than the last. The troposphere, where weather lives, clouds forming, rain falling, the breath of forests mixing with your own. The stratosphere, smooth and steady, where the ozone layer shields us from the sun's fierce light. Above that, the mesosphere, where meteors burn in brief flares, starlight meeting atmosphere and becoming flame. And beyond, the thermosphere, where auroras dance in curtains of green and violet, where the air grows so thin that a single molecule can drift miles before meeting another. Keep rising, and soon there is no boundary at all, just a soft fading from air into space. No wall, no line, only transition. The ocean above the sky dissolves into the cosmic sea beyond. And yet, even there, the Earth's breath still lingers, a faint halo of blue that glows when sunlight passes through. From orbit, astronauts often describe the atmosphere as the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. A thin, fragile band of light wrapped around the planet, glowing like a soap bubble against the black. They say it looks impossibly delicate, like something you could reach out and touch. And that seeing it changes how you feel about home. From up there, you understand that the air is not just around us, it is us. We are creatures of atmosphere, made to live within its soft embrace. This ocean above us connects every living thing. The air you breathe tonight may have passed through the lungs of a whale centuries ago, through the branches of trees, through mountain storms, through the breath of ancestors. Air never truly leaves. It only changes form, circulating endlessly, binding past and present in one invisible current. The wind carries whispers from one side of the world to the other. Tiny grains of desert dust cross oceans to feed rainforests. Pollen drifts continents away. Even the scents we notice for only a moment are stories carried by the air of places we'll never see, of lives we'll never know. Every breeze is a messenger. And above it all, there is sound. Not the kind we hear, but low, deep resonances, the planet's voice, vibrating in air and earth. Waves of pressure too slow for our ears. Scientists call it infrasound, the hum of storms, volcanoes, oceans. The Earth is always singing softly to itself through its atmosphere. We simply live too quickly to notice. There are oceans beneath us and oceans above, each reflecting the other in rhythm and pattern. Waves on water, waves in air, currents below, currents above. Lightning that flashes between them, a brief handshake of energy linking sky and sea. Every storm is a conversation between two oceans, one of liquid, one of light. And sometimes, when the sun sets just right, you can see the entire atmosphere, glowing layers of color stacked like watercolor on glass. Deep blue, fading to gold, to rose, to violet. That fading is the sunlight's long journey through miles of air, the day exhaling light before sleep. When night falls, the upper atmosphere still holds a faint afterglow sunlight scattered from beyond the horizon. We call it twilight, but the old poets called it the breathing of the sky. High above even the auroras, tiny particles still shimmer with energy. They catch cosmic rays, bend magnetic fields, and radiate faintly in ultraviolet and X-ray light. It is the farthest reach of our atmospheric ocean, the place where air becomes space, where the Earth sighs its breath into the cosmos. And yet, from down here, all we see is the sky. We forget that it's alive, a moving, changing, nurturing body of air that holds our sound, our weather, our dreams. Every bird, every cloud, every plane that crosses its expanse is part of that living system. Even the moon's reflection, trembling in the upper atmosphere, is shaped by its shifting tides. Sometimes, when you stand beneath a star-filled sky, you might feel the difference between air and beyond, the weight of what keeps you alive, and the infinity just above it. That boundary, that invisible membrane, is both fragile and eternal. It keeps the warmth in and the silence out. It is the space between breath and vacuum, between song and silence. You are never really apart from it. With every inhale, you take in a piece of sky. With every exhale, you return part of yourself to it. The atmosphere and your lungs move in the same rhythm, a shared respiration that has continued for millions of years. You are both creature and current, a wave within the ocean above. So tonight, when the air feels cool and still, imagine the entire planet breathing with you. The winds drifting across mountains, the air rising from warm seas, the auroras flowing high above the poles, all of it part of one vast, slow motion, the gentle exhale of a living world. The next time you look up, remember that the blue above isn't an empty sky. It's an ocean, transparent, endless, full of song. An ocean that holds birds and dreams and sound. An ocean that connects you to every living thing. And just beyond its surface, space begins quiet, cold, waiting, like another sea beyond the horizon. The Earth floats between these two oceans, breathing between them, alive in their balance. And you, small and still, beneath it all, are part of that balance too. A breath inside a greater breath, a wave inside the endless air. Every planet has its weather. Every world, no matter how strange, keeps its own kind of sky. Some shimmer with clouds of diamonds, others whisper with methane rain. Each breathes differently, some in storms, some in silence, but all are alive with motion. Our own weather feels familiar. Clouds, rain, snow, wind. It is the heartbeat of home. But when you look beyond Earth, weather becomes something vast, like dreams imagined by other kinds of worlds. On Venus, it rains acid. Clouds swirl in layers of yellow and white, a permanent haze so thick that sunlight can only guess its way through. The wind never rests. It circles the planet at hundreds of kilometers an hour, dragging the sky faster than the ground below. The air is dense, heavy, with carbon dioxide, so thick that a single gust would press against you like the weight of water. Lightning flashes inside the clouds, but no eye will ever see it directly, only the flicker it leaves behind. Venus's weather is eternal dusk, beautiful, burning, unreachable. On Mars, the air is thin as memory, but even there, the sky moves. Winds lift fine dust into storms that can swallow the entire planet soft. Silent blizzards of rust that drift for months, painting the world in faint red haze. Sometimes, at dawn, frost glitters on the dunes, a brief shimmer of ice in the chill before sunrise. Then it melts, vanishes, returns again with the next night's breath. The weather of Mars is a whisper, not fierce, but lonely, like an echo waiting for someone to listen. Farther out, Jupiter spins faster than any planet we know, and its atmosphere roars with endless energy. Clouds the size of continents swirl in belts of cream, gold, and rose. The Great Red Spot, a single storm larger than Earth, has raged for centuries, its winds spinning faster than sound. Yet even there, patterns form and dissolve in slow rhythm, as if the planet is exhaling its own kind of harmony. Beneath those clouds lies pressure so great that hydrogen itself turns to liquid metal, a sea without shore, conducting lightning deeper than light can reach. Saturn's weather is quieter, but stranger still. Winds sculpt vast hexagons at its north pole, a perfect six-sided storm, geometric and steady, as if the atmosphere itself follows hidden mathematics. Storms drift in ivory and amber bands, and every so often, a single flash of lightning lights the whole planet for an instant. Even its rings have weather streams of ice and dust shifting like the tide, a frozen current, turning endlessly in silence. On Uranus, the air is pale and still. It tilts on its side, so its poles take turns basking in decades of sunlight and decades of dark. For half a lifetime, one hemisphere glows in constant day, while the other sleeps in twilight. The winds are gentle there, rolling through aquamarine haze, a planet perpetually half dreaming. And Neptune, farthest from the sun, holds the coldest winds in the solar system, gale-force rivers of air faster than sound. Its storms rise and fade in sapphire spirals, their shapes changing like music in motion. The blue there is not like any blue on Earth, it's the color of depth itself, the color of distance made visible. Every planet's weather tells a story about balance, how heat meets cold, how energy seeks peace. Even in the most violent storms, there's rhythm and pattern, a kind of order in motion. The universe does not waste movement. It repeats in beauty until it rests. Beyond our solar system, in the dark reaches of space, astronomers have found worlds stranger still. Planets that rain molten glass sideways, where winds reach 2,000 miles an hour. Gas giants so close to their suns that their day-sides glow red-hot while their night-sides freeze in eternal black. Some with skies of iron vapor, some with clouds of quartz, some with no solid surface at all, only endless atmosphere, spinning like thought. But none of these worlds are truly chaotic. Each follows its own quiet laws, its own slow breath. Even a storm that lasts centuries is only the weather of a single heartbeat in a planet's long life. And the Earth, our soft, blue, breathing world, sits quietly among them, its clouds small, its storms brief, its air kind. Our weather is mild, not by accident, but by grace. The balance here is fragile, held by distance, tilt, and time. Just enough heat, just enough cold, just enough chance for water to fall, rise, and fall again. This gentle rhythm is what allows us to exist. When you listen to rain, you're hearing the voice of the planet's own sky the same way thunder rolls through Jupiter, the same way methane snow falls on Neptune. Every drop, every breeze, is part of a universal conversation between air and ground. Each world adds its verse to the song. Maybe that's what weather really is, not chaos, but conversation. A way for worlds to speak with their stars, to trade warmth, to share energy, to tell time through change. A dialogue written in wind. When the next storm passes above you, remember how lucky it is to feel it, to stand inside a living sky. To breathe an atmosphere gentle enough to touch, warm enough to hold, soft enough to fall as rain. Above you, countless other skies are moving, two clouds curling over alien horizons, winds folding across distant oceans of gas and dust. Each one different, each one alive in its own rhythm. And all of them, together, compose the weather of the cosmos. Perhaps the universe itself has its own atmosphere, a thin layer of possibility surrounding everything that exists. Stars burn within it, galaxies swirl through it, and we, here on our small blue world, feel its breath every time the wind moves through trees. So tonight, when you hear the soft rain or feel the quiet wind, let it remind you that you're part of a much larger weather. A rhythm older than the earth, older than sunlight, older than time. The weather of other worlds still moves around you in the atoms you breathe, in the light that touches your skin, in the endless, gentle flow of a universe forever exhaling. Every glass of water you've ever touched is older than you, older than every tree, every animal, every word. It has been here since the earth began falling, freezing, flowing, returning. The same molecules that fall as rain tonight once drifted in clouds above primeval seas, once filled the lungs of ancient creatures, once hid inside mountains, once floated between stars. Water remembers. Not in the way a mind remembers, but through motion, through rhythm and return. Every drop is a part of a single endless story that began before the world had color. When the planet was young, its surface was molten and wild. Vapor rose, condensed, and fell again in rains that lasted for millions of years. Those rains cooled the earth, forging oceans out of steam and lightning. That was the first memory, the sound of the world learning how to rain. Since then, water has never stopped moving. It carves, it soothes, it shapes. Rivers do not just flow through land, they write it. Each curve, each canyon, each soft valley is the handwriting of water, patiently carving time into the earth's skin. Mountains rise, crumble, and are carried away grain by grain, washed toward the sea. Nothing resists water forever. Even stone remembers its touch. Rain falls, streams gather, oceans rise and breathe. Waves move in slow heartbeats, inhaling the moon's pull, exhaling foam and wind. And within those waves, countless droplets trade places, never still, never gone. If you could follow a single molecule of water through all of time, you would see it in every form: cloud, river, snow, mist, blood, breath. It would fall as rain, freeze, as glacier, melt, evaporate, fall again. Water doesn't end, it circulates. It's the Earth's memory made liquid. Sometimes, water speaks in whispers. The slow drip of cave pools forming crystal over centuries. The silent crawl of groundwater under roots. Dawn. Other times, it roars torrents after storms, waves that carry whole continents of sound. But whether whisper or thunder, it is always speaking the same language: movement. And inside that movement, life began. Every cell, every creature, arose from the chemistry of ancient seas. The ocean was the first cradle, and every heartbeat since is a small echo of its pulse. We are mostly water rivers wrapped in skin, tidal bodies walking on land. The salt in our blood is the same salt once held in the earliest oceans. Every tear we cry is an offering to that ancient source. When you drink a glass of water, you are tasting the planet's memory. You are touching something that once drifted through ice ages, through coral reefs, through clouds that crossed continents. It may have fallen as snow on a glacier thousands of years before you were born. It may have flowed through the roots of a forest that no longer exists. Water carries all these stories. Without words, it simply continues. There are places on Earth where water tells its history in color. Lakes glowing turquoise from minerals and sunlight. Hot springs stained with iron and life. Deep caves where droplets fall in perfect rhythm, marking centuries like a clock too slow to see. Each ripple is a record, each frozen crystal, a tiny archive of time. Even ice remembers. In the polar caps, ancient air is trapped inside frozen bubbles. Scientists can read them, the breath of past ages preserved in frost. Those bubbles tell us about vanished climates, forgotten seasons, the balance of a world that has changed but never stopped breathing. Water connects everything. It ties the mountain to the sea, the sky to the soil, the living to the dead. It is the bloodstream of the planet. Where it flows, life follows. Where it pauses, silence deepens. And when it evaporates, it doesn't disappear, it ascends. Invisible, patient. It joins the wind, travels the world, and returns as rain somewhere else. No matter where it goes, it is always on its way home. Even the clouds have memory. They remember heat, humidity, pressure, and release. They gather what the world exhales and return it gently, in drops and snowflakes, each one unique, a perfect, fleeting record of the air it fell from. No two snowflakes are ever the same because no two moments in the sky are identical. That, too, is memory. When water flows over skin, it listens. It takes with it a trace of warmth, of touch, of thought. It doesn't keep it as possession, it keeps it as continuity. In every raindrop, some tiny part of everything that ever lived persists, not as ghost or spirit, but as element, as the continuation of the same quiet pattern. Sometimes, at night, when the air is heavy and the rain is close, you can almost feel it remembering. The way it gathers on windows, the way it moves toward light, the way it returns. Again and again, no matter how many times it falls. Water teaches patience. It teaches persistence without force. It shows that to wear down mountains, you do not need violence, only time and softness. It teaches us that to move forward, you do not always need to rush. Sometimes you only need to flow. And in its stillness, water mirrors the sky. It reflects the stars, the moon, the quiet motion of clouds. It holds the world upside down and perfectly calm. Perhaps that's its greatest memory of all, not what it's touched, but what it's seen. So tonight, if you listen carefully, you might hear it moving somewhere near beneath the soil, in the air, inside your own pulse. It is the same water the world began with. Still traveling, still learning, still remembering, and maybe, in its gentle persistence, it remembers you too, your breath, your warmth, your presence, carrying it softly onward through the endless cycle of return. Because nothing truly passes away. It only changes shape. The memory of water is the memory of everything. Rivers speak, but not in words. Their voices are shaped by distance, gravity, and patience. You can hear them if you listen long enough, not just as sound, but as rhythm. The same rhythm that beats in your chest. Every river begins as a whisper. A trickle of melting ice, a spring hidden under moss, a quiet seep of water escaping from stone. No river starts large. They are born in silence, in places where light meets shadow and cold gives way to motion. At first, the flow is gentle, unsure, learning how to find its way through roots and rock, but slowly, it grows confident, joining with others, merging currents, finding direction. It becomes something larger than itself, a living thread stitching the land together. Each river tells a different story. Some speak in murmurs through forests, others roar through mountains, some glide like breath through plains. But all of them share a single language, the language of movement toward belonging. No matter where they begin, they all seek the same end, the sea. Along the way, rivers remember. They remember the shape of the land they cross, the taste of the minerals they carry, the scent of the rain that feeds them. They remember the roots that drink from them, the animals that wade through them, the people who build homes along their banks. Every ripple holds fragments of mountains and memories, sands from distant hills, ashes of ancient forests. Each current is a record of passage. The language of rivers is soft repetition, a murmur that never says the same thing twice, yet never loses its meaning. It speaks through the way it bends, the way it flows around obstacles instead of fighting them. Rivers don't resist. They adapt. They curve, twist, and yield, finding paths even through stone. They teach what gentleness can do when given enough time. In that way, rivers are patient teachers. They show us how to move forward by yielding, how to persist without haste. Even when blocked, they do not stop. They simply wait until the barrier softens, or until they find another way. And in time, they always do. Some rivers travel thousands of miles. They cross deserts, forests, cities. They connect climates, carry rain from mountains to sea, linking every ecosystem in between. They bring minerals from the highlands, nutrients to the deltas, fertility to the coasts. Every river, in its wandering, nourishes life far beyond its banks. They are the arteries of the planet, the moving lines that keep the world alive. There is a sacred rhythm to how they flow. The surface ripples, the deeper currents glide unseen. From above, it seems simple. Beneath, it's layered fast water over slow, eddies twisting like thought. Even silence has motion within it. That's what rivers remind us of. That stillness can exist inside movement, and movement inside stillness. Sometimes, rivers disappear sinking underground, flowing through stone caverns for miles before emerging again. Their journeys continue unseen, but they never lose their way. They trust the pull of gravity, the steady guidance that leads them home. It's a kind of faith, the quiet assurance that all paths, no matter how winding, lead eventually to where they're meant to go. In mythology, rivers often mark the boundaries between worlds, the line between life and death, between dream and waking. The ancients saw them as thresholds, and perhaps they were right. To stand beside a river at dusk is to feel that same threshold, the sense of something vast moving just beyond comprehension. You can feel it breathing, the weight of time sliding past your feet. Each drop of water in a river is both transient and eternal. It passes, yet the river remains. It changes constantly, yet always returns to its pattern. This is the paradox of continuity, the same that governs life itself. We change, we move, but the essence of the journey endures. In that way, we are all rivers, temporary and infinite at once. Some rivers carry silence like prayer. In the far north, under ice, they move without sound motion, hidden beneath stillness. Others sing endlessly, their waters striking stone, creating music older than speech. Listen long enough, and you begin to hear emotion in their flow. Contentment in the slow turns, urgency in the falls, peace in the wide, quiet mouths where fresh water meets salt. Every tone has meaning. Every bend is a sentence in a language of motion. At night, under the moon, rivers glow faintly. Light slides over them like breath. From above, they look like threads of silver stitched across the dark fabric of the world. The same way galaxies thread through space, rivers of stars crossing the cosmic night. The pattern repeats. From water to starlight. What flows through rivers is what flows through the universe. Motion guided by gravity, energy returning home. When you sit by a river, you are listening to the oldest story ever told, the story of movement, of return, of persistence. Every sound, every shimmer, is a syllable in that endless sentence. The language has no words, because it doesn't need them. It speaks directly to the part of you that remembers how to flow, how to rest, how to continue. So tonight, if your mind feels crowded, if the day's noise still lingers in your thoughts, imagine a river, not rushing, not roaring, just moving, gently, toward its destination. Let each thought become a leaf on its surface. Let them drift away, carried by current. You don't have to chase them or hold them. The river will take care of them, as it takes care of everything. Because that's what rivers do. They carry, they connect, they continue, and even after they reach the sea, their story doesn't end. It rises again as vapor, as cloud, as rain returning to begin again. That is the language of rivers, to move, to give, to return, to flow in circles that never close. To remind us that all journeys, no matter how long, no matter how winding, are really just water finding its way home. When the world grows quiet, the oceans keep breathing. Even when you cannot see them, their pulse moves through everything, the tides rising and falling like a heartbeat stretched across the planet. If you listen closely, you can almost feel it beneath your own pulse. The slow inhale and exhale of water meeting moonlight. The oceans never truly rest, yet they are always dreaming. They are the Earth's memory made deep, a vast, ancient mind that never closes its eyes. Every wave is a thought, every current, a strand of remembering. The surface flickers with sunlight, but the real ocean lives below, where light fades into blue, then into darkness, then into stillness. So complete that it feels like sleep. Down there, time behaves differently. Movement slow, colors vanish, sound turns soft and round. Pressure increases until even silence feels heavy. Creatures drift through that dark in quiet grace, transparent, slow-moving, perfectly adapted to the weight of eternity. They glow softly, like dreams that never quite end. It is life as meditation, unhurried, unafraid, as if the deep sea has made peace with darkness itself. Scientists once believed that the deep ocean was lifeless, too cold and too dark for anything to survive. But when they finally looked closer, They found it alive beyond imagination. Coral forests blooming in the black, fish with lanterns growing from their skin, whole ecosystems thriving around volcanic vents, places where the Earth's inner fire meets its coldest waters. In those hidden realms, light is made anew, born not from the sun but from chemistry and heat. It's as if the planet itself is dreaming in color, painting secret worlds no eye was meant to see. Even in their quiet, the oceans move endlessly. Currents wrap around the world like ribbons, carrying warmth from the tropics to the poles and back again. These underwater rivers are the veins of the planet. They regulate climate, cradle storms, and shape the breath of every living thing on land. The ocean's sleep is not stillness. It's slow motion stretched across centuries. Every drop of seawater has traveled the world, descending into the deep, resurfacing, falling as rain. Some take hundreds of years to complete the cycle, moving from surface to shadow and back again. When we say the ocean sleeps, what we really mean is that it dreams in centuries. Its dreams shape our weather, our air, our lives. There is something profoundly gentle about that rhythm, the way the ocean moves without hurry, the way it accepts everything that falls into it: rain, rivers, light, silence, and returns it, all in its own time. It is patience made visible, a kind of eternal acceptance. At night, when the wind dies and the waves flatten, the sea becomes a mirror. Stars tremble across its surface, and the line between sky and water disappears. You cannot tell where reflection ends and reality begins. It's as if the Earth is looking at itself, a planet dreaming of its own face. Sailors once called this state the ocean's sleep. They feared it and loved it in equal measure. In calm seas, time seemed to pause. The ship floated like a leaf, and the boundary between motion and stillness vanished. It was beautiful, and a little haunting because it reminded them of eternity. Sometimes, the ocean's dreams are louder. Storms roll across its surface, winds tear at the waves, and the water rises in mountains of motion. But even then, there is no anger, only energy changing form. When the storm passes, the sea smooths itself out again, as if nothing had ever disturbed it. It forgets quickly, but completely a master of release. In its depths, sound travels farther than light. Whales sing across entire oceans, their songs low and patient, rolling through darkness like lullabies for the planet. Each note can travel for thousands of miles, a language older than speech, a music that binds the world's waters together. Some say the whales are the ocean's voice, its breath given melody. And just as sleep restores the mind, the ocean restores the world. It absorbs heat, gathers carbon, carries nutrients. It cleanses itself slowly, balancing what the land cannot. It is the Earth's great act of renewal, a living equilibrium that keeps everything else possible. The surface and the depths are two sides of one dream. Above, light dances and dies. Below, shadows bloom and live. Every wave that touches the shore has come from the same vast stillness beneath. The ocean never arrives. It only continues. Its edges are illusions, like the edge of a thought you cannot finish. When you stand beside it, and the sound of waves fills your ears, you are hearing time itself breathing. Each wave is a moment returning. Each hush between them is a pause in eternity. And in that rhythm, the body finds rest. The mind slows to match the water's pace. You feel, without words, that you are part of the same vast sleep. If you could listen deep enough beyond the sound of surface waves, beyond even the whale songs and currents, you might hear something softer, the faint hum of molecules moving in darkness, the music of water simply existing. It is the same tone that fills the womb, the same silence that fills the space between stars, the same rhythm that begins in your first breath and continues long after your last. Because the ocean does not end at the shore. It continues in clouds, in rain, in rivers that return to it again and again. It continues in you, in the salt of your skin, in the tide of your blood, in the calm between your breaths. When you fall asleep tonight, you are imitating the ocean. You are surrendering to depth, to stillness, to return. And just like the sea, You will rise again with the light renewed, silent, infinite for a moment. The sleep of oceans is the sleep of the earth itself, and in that endless rhythm, we all drift together, light above, dark below, breathing quietly through eternity. By now, the night has deepened. The stars are not brighter, only closer. The air feels slower, the thoughts softer, as if the world itself is beginning to drift. You have traveled far through time, through light, through the breath of planets, through the slow pulse of water and the memory of silence. And yet, in truth, you have not moved at all. You have simply settled deeper into stillness, closer to the quiet center where understanding no longer needs words. Because the universe is not asking to be solved, it is asking to be felt. It is not a puzzle, but a presence, something that surrounds you, holds you, and whispers. You are already part of this. There comes a point, somewhere between wakefulness and dream, where the mind begins to loosen its grip. Thoughts drift apart like clouds after rain. Meaning dissolves into sound. And in that space between the last thought and the first silence, something opens. Something that does not need to know. It only needs to rest. Perhaps the universe feels the same. After all its movement, its birth and fire and endless expansion, perhaps it too longs, sometimes, for the peace of not becoming anything new, for the quiet beyond motion. If you listen closely now, you might hear that silence not as emptiness, but as fullness, without noise. The silence of everything existing at once. The silence that contains all music. The silence where even time hesitates, pausing to take a breath. The atoms in your body were once stars. They burned, they collapsed, they cooled, they joined together to become you. And someday, they will scatter again, becoming stars once more. You are not separate from the universe's story. You are a single sentence in its infinite poem. And even that sentence will be read again, somewhere, in another form, by another consciousness. There is comfort in that, because it means nothing is truly lost. Not the light, not the warmth, not the love you gave or the calm you found. It all continues, changing shape, flowing onward in quiet continuity. The mind loves to ask, why? What's next? How far? But the heart, when given silence, simply listens. It knows that not everything must be named. Some things exist to be felt once and released, like a wave that rises, curls, and returns to sea. And so, as this journey comes to its final drift, let yourself dissolve a little into the hum beneath all things, the still rhythm of existence, breathing softly. The ocean still moves, even in its sleep. The stars still burn, though their light takes eons to arrive. And somewhere, deep inside the darkness between them, the fabric of reality hums a single note, a tone too vast for the ear, but not for the soul. It is the note of being, the sound of existence without needing to be understood. You are within it now, held between one breath and the next, a small, perfect pause in eternity. No questions, no edges, only presence. The silence beyond understanding is not the absence of knowledge, it's the presence of peace. The kind that asks nothing of you, the kind that exists even when you stop existing as you. Everything you've ever been is folded gently into this stillness. The storms and calm seas, the light and shadow, the wonder and the weariness. All of it belongs here. All of it has found its place. And as the night continues its quiet turning, the universe exhales around you. Galaxies drift. Atoms rest. Your thoughts settle like dust on the floor of a sunbeam. You have reached the soft horizon where curiosity becomes comfort. You don't need to go further. You don't need to understand more. You have already arrived. Let the silence hold you. Let the weight of the world fall away. You are safe here between heartbeat and breath, between wave and shore, between knowing and being. Somewhere far above, a star sends its light into the dark, beginning a journey that will take millions of years. It will cross galaxies, pass through dust and time, and one day reach another consciousness. Maybe another version of you, somewhere, someday, will look up and feel the same quiet, wonder the same peace, And remember this moment without words. The light will keep traveling. The silence will keep singing. And you can rest,